Preparing live stream. Live. And we're live on YouTube. Go. Let's go.
Blind and beyond.
Blind and beyond.
It's the Blind and Beyond Show.
With Harshid
And Dave Hillibbrandt.
He'll be talking to all kinds of interesting people in the blindness community. And beyond. I wonder where they could be. Let's check on them now.
Ouch. Wow. We made it. Welcome, one and all.
Yeah, man. Dude.
The Blind and
Dave,
Beyond Show.
Again, week 2. Did it again. I'm so happy that we've all come back to where we are. And Dave, thank you so much for last week, man. That was quite an adventure, but we're still going. So
Indeed, it was a lot of fun. I'm Dave Hillibbrandt, and this guy over here, that's Harshid Trivedi.
Who, me?
Yeah, that's
me.
that guy on the other end of the state. We're here in Florida, by the way.
Absolutely. Where are you coming in from, Dave?
I am Central Florida here, just north of Orlando in Seminole County, for those keeping track.
Cool. I'm actually coming out of Daytona Beach, Florida this evening. And, we have guests from another part of Florida a little bit later in the hour. And we have a person from all the way from Indiana.
Corn country.
Is that what it is?
Anxious to talk to
We'll have to ask
him in just a moment. Yeah.
So, Dave, what else has been going on from the last time I talked to you? I know you got some news right after we started talking, and any new things?
Oh, there's always something new, my friend. I've been having lots of fun with ham radio. We might talk a little bit about the my wild Waymo ride, which was very exciting and good, actually. A wonderful experience riding Waymo for the first time here locally. And let's see, I was writing some new music and having fun. And of course, thrilled to be doing the YouTube show here. So having fun with that. It's all good. What about you? What's happening?
Oh, man, that sounds like just a whole lot of fun. Honestly, for me, I've been looking at the channel quite often, using all these different tools, right? You have Google Gemini, and you have, you got Reaper that's accessible. So if you don't know how to use an application, you might ask a tool to say, hey, how do you use this? And so past week from our last show, it's just been asking questions to make sure that we bring a fine product to our audience, and as well as making sure that, when we're trying to even have a conversation, that we're heard properly. What do you think about being heard? You think that there's enough ways of communication, or should we communicate more? I mean, you mentioned a way of communication, which is called ham radio, right?
Yep, we're excited to talk about that. Certainly an interesting way of being able to communicate via microphone, computer, Morse code, all kinds of possibilities. So we'll be talking to Russ here in the second hour all about ham radio and how you can get into the hobby and why it is an excellent choice for blind folks as well as sighted for a hobby.
Absolutely, and it's important to state that clearly. It is a hobby that is also available to the blind and to the sighted. So just again, it's about studying and having the know-how, and that's exactly what some of these exams might curtail into. But you know what? There's this gentleman that really is into his education from a young. I've talked to him before, but from a young age, I want to say. and he actually graduated from Purdue. So, Dave, do you think we want to introduce the other Dave?
Hey, why not? I think we should. Dave Schleppenbach. Where's my drum roll?
Yeah.
What you say, Dave?
Hello, hello. Good to see both of you. How is it
Good
going
evening.
today?
Doing well, doing well. Welcome to the show. And hey, we were always pulling you to different shows, but this is the Blind and Beyond show. And, you've been such a, I guess, pioneer. And Dave Hillibbrandt, what other words can we use for this gentleman here? Because, I mean, he's always taking care of ads and making sure people get the right information. And what else do you got to say, Dave?
A lot of possibilities. It's a family show, so I don't want to say all the words that we've used to describe Dave, but certainly innovative. A a person that's passionate about trying to include everyone in being able in a lot of different areas. So he's a techno wizard. I think we can safely say that. And a fine musician, by the way, a guitar player as well. So, which I've had the pleasure of jamming with. But he is the CEO of, Tactile Engineering slash. Now you've got a new venture. So I'll let Hirsch ask you about that. But I know Dave originally from the invention of the Cadence Tablet, of which I'm an owner, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But it's a wonderful accessibility device, a very much like a Braille reading device, but so much more. So anyway, Hirsch, let her rip.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting, we go to these products or we go to a product, but there's always people behind the product in my mind. And through the past month or this year, let's just call it this year, I actually got a wonderful treat to go to the Assistive Technology Industry Association out in Orlando, Florida. And Dave Schleppenbach, he's been there about, from my count, at least 2 to 3 years that I remember meeting him up. And this time was actually quite different for me. I actually got to hang out with his teammate, or his team basically, and as well as just to learn from such vast companies. I mean, Apple and Google, and but there's one conversation that honestly really, really was heartfelt to me personally, and it was the fact that we're all trying to seek different adventures in life, perhaps, or stability, right? Stability, I think, is the core of what we're all seeking at this point. And learning that how you interview people, how you speak to people, how you come off to people is quite important. And as well as, you might have different disabilities that might have to intersect to improve somebody else's life. And Dave and another gentleman actually did a talk in the morning. But Dave, I wanted to first off say welcome to you. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the episode on such short notice. What did you feel as you've kind of come through your own adventure? You've gone through you've graduated from Purdue, I believe, right? If that's correct.
That's right.
And so, what would you tell my audience of where did you kind of pick up the pieces, or where did it kind of start? What was that entrepreneur mindset, if you wouldn't mind?
Wow. Yeah. So we start right off with the hard questions. And see, I thought you
Yeah,
were
get
going to
it done
ask
with.
me,
Dave's
I,
got some good stuff about the cadence. We'll talk. We'll talk.
I thought you were going to ask me about tree removal. See, let's start with
That's
that
coming up.
coming up. So, well, it's interesting. I never realized I would be an entrepreneur, but when I think back to being a kid, the earliest thing I can remember doing as a kid was a lawn mowing service. And I had a lawnmower and a can of gas, and I would basically run from house to house and offer to mow their lawn. And the beauty of that gig was I got paid a certain amount of money for mowing the lawn, independent of how long it took me to mow the lawn. I think it was maybe $10 or some exorbitant sum back then, you know.
Sure.
So I had a push mower, which had the advantage that I could sprint behind that mower at top speed. Uh, Side note, do not do this at home, right? And so if I mowed that lawn in 10 minutes as opposed to 30, I still got the same $10, you know, as long as the grass was cut. So I think I always had a little bit of an entrepreneur mindset. Um, I was always thinking about ideas for doing new things as a kid. I wanted to be an inventor, slash scientist. And I ended up starting some sort of side businesses as I was working through college and graduate school, doing things like computer repair and computers, general put together computers for people, doing some consulting type things. I didn't even know it was called consulting back then, right? But I was just helping people with stuff. And I had a little side business of helping doctors' sons and daughters prepare to take the medical school admissions test. So,
Interesting.
yeah, it was a
So
great
fascinating.
gig. So I'm not going to name any names here, but I would get a little envelope of cash to start, and then if the child got a certain score, I would get another envelope of cash. And so that was like the greatest thing in the world to me as a young man, you know. But I
Cash
think
is
what
good at any age.
any age, right? Exactly. And I was already learning all these subjects in math and science anyway, so this was like, wow, I get paid to do something I'm already doing. You know, it's great.
Sure.
So as I got into graduate school and started teaching at Purdue and learning a lot of things there, you know, they had a entrepreneur program that had just started. This is a couple of presidents ago at the university. And if you go to universities nowadays, almost every university has like entrepreneurism, or they call it technology transfer. But this was pretty new at the time. And the president of the university said, "Hey, we think you might be a good person to become an entrepreneur." And of course, my idiot self said, "Well, how hard could that be?" Right?
Yeah.
Why not?
And then here we are several decades later. So I went through the Purdue incubator program and started my first business with an investment from some farmers locally that had sold their grain elevators and had a bunch of money and wanted to invest in something technical. And I guess that's where I came in. And I've just sort of been a serial entrepreneur ever since then, which either sounds really bad, like I know where the bodies are buried, or if it's my kids, they think that is that Captain Crunch? What is it? What is a serial entrepreneur, right?
So you got to fill us in though. So what is what did the grain folks spend their money on?
Well, it's funny because I pitched them on three ideas, one of which had to do with disabilities. And they thought the disabilities one was the most interesting, so that's the one they funded. And we were off and running from that moment forward. And then that sort of spawned me into the field of assistive technology. And even though I've done things in many other fields, medical devices and biotech, information technology, entertainment, gaming, music, I've always come back to assistive technologies as my first love.
Dave, if I could, you mentioned a couple of those, the entertainment, gaming, and the medical. If you could actually speak on those, I know with the entertainment gaming, it was it to deal with drumming, I think?
Yeah, we did a number of things. So one of them was drumming. So we had a couple different products for drumming. So one of them was a drum pedal and drum set that was compatible with the video game Rock Band and Guitar Hero,
Oh
if
yeah,
you
they were
remember that.
huge.
Huge for a while there, like a fad. So we worked with Pearl to create real drum pedals and real drums that would work with the game. And shockingly, we sold Pearl out of the entire worldwide supply of bass drum pedals the first year that we offered these for
Wow.
sale. And so they called us and said, "What are you doing with all our drum pedals? Stop doing this. We don't have any for the musicians." Which is
This is for the
hilarious.
musicians, you know.
Right. So we actually had quite a few people learn to play drums by playing Rock Band. It's really sort of phenomenal. And then we also built a high-end double bass pedal for punk rockers. So
That's
this was,
important.
yeah, it had an analog trigger. You could play it with a real drum, but it then could rerun through the amp system and amped because most venues they try to amp the bass drum.
Oh yeah.
And then we also developed a MIDI marimba.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so if you ever used a
Yeah, the
marimba,
thumb drum, right?
yeah,
Or thumb
it's a
piano.
or the ones they use in high school bands are these gigantic
Ah,
things that don't even fit in
You
a
hit with
van.
mallets.
You hit with mallets.
got
Yes.
you.
It's like a big
Um,
xylophone, sort
if
of.
you're having a bad day or you're a Muppet, you just
Uh,
smash your head on it, right? But
right.
so the thing about the MIDI one is you could fold it up and put it in your car. So that was cool. And we also did some other sort of unrelated things. We were producing outdoor laser tag guns. So what better way to tell your friends and family how much you love them than to shoot them with a laser tag gun, right?
There you
No
go.
injuries, yeah.
So
And
lots
then
of
play a
crazy
little
stuff.
marimba together,
And
you
then
know.
yeah, work it off by playing Rock Band. There you go.
You know,
So,
and
but what
yeah,
all these had in common, is
mhm,
they were high tech but low volume. It means you make a small amount of some really complicated thing that's in a niche that nobody has done. And if you think about it, what is assistive technology? It's the same thing. It's high tech, low volume in a
right.
niche.
I want to take the audience's, maybe not a tearjerker, but I've had family loss myself. So my mom passed away from metastatic breast cancer, and in the past we've talked in another conversation, and you had mentioned you've had some kind of, I guess, inkling in this space of trying to help cure cancer. Perhaps would that be a little too much to say, or
No, I mean, I lost a family member to cancer. I've been through that journey. We've had a number of other significant health issues with family members. I have a big family, so, the odds are just statistically that something will happen to somebody. And when you go through journeys like that, it makes you much more empathetic, I think, to the people around you going through a similar journey. I've had some very unusual experiences in my life. Um, I have spent time working in a morgue when I was studying medicine. I have worked in a maximum security prison facility with inmates. At an earlier time in my life, when I was much less fortunate, I had food insecurity and homelessness briefly. So I've sort of lived extremes. And that has made me very deeply appreciative of all people everywhere, regardless of their background, because I feel like everyone has something to contribute. And many of us go through some adversity and we all share that in common. And I think it should bring us together rather than drive us apart.
You would
I
think so.
agree.
I agree
Well,
with you.
yeah, I agree, and sometimes it's the way we, I guess, frame the story, so to speak, and depending, we as myself, Dave, and I, we have vision loss, and again, I have some sight compared to what Dave sees, but we rely on our tools such as a screen reader, or perhaps for Dave, would you say Braille for you, Dave?
Certainly both. I use it in
Right.
combination, and but yeah, Braille quite a bit for sure.
And so, kind of diving into some of that Braille, could you explain to us what brought you to Braille there, Mr. Schleppenbach?
Yeah, well, it's a funny story because I myself am sighted. So, I learned by my eyes. I went and did a lot of work over the years studying science and math in particular, very visual. There's a lot of pictures, big, dense, thick books with a lot of equations and graphics in them. And as I came to Purdue, I ended up working with some blind students at Purdue. There were three incoming students in Indiana that I worked with, all of whom were blind and were studying science and math. And so what got me interested was the challenge I got assigned to teach them. And I had the challenge of how am I going to teach organic chemistry, physics, calculus, general biology? How am I going to teach that to someone who can't see the pictures in the book?
Some of the
Um,
hardest subjects, even for the sighted.
even for the
Eesh.
sighted. Yeah. I mean, when I taught general chemistry, the average passing grade was 40%, just to put in
Wow.
perspective, right? And that
Wow.
was a class of 5,000 students. Um, so I had these students and I started teaching them using tactile graphics and models, 3D models. And one day I was teaching a section on what we call stereochemistry, which is like three-dimensional chemistry. It's how molecules fit together. And I suddenly realized as I was going through the lesson, all of my sighted students were struggling very badly because they were used to looking at the paper and seeing a flat picture on the paper. And they didn't have the internal skill of visualization to convert that into a 3D object.
Right.
But my three blind students who had worked with models immediately grasped the topic and were ahead of the sighted students. And when I realized that, I said, you know what? This is really interesting. We have a technique to teach students with a special need that actually is a superior technique for teaching. I wonder what else is out there. And ever since then, I've been trying to uncover similar things.
Something you can use for both sighted and for blind folks. And yeah, who would have thought that would have worked so well? But sometimes what you discover by accident is the stuff that works. So
And I found Braille fascinating. You know, the origins of it going back to France and to Louis Braille was originally a military code. So soldiers could communicate at night without using any light by passing messages that they could read with their fingers as opposed to making sound or noise, which is
right.
sort of ingenious. And as I started watching students using Braille to learn, I realized how important that technique was, especially for complex topics. I worked a lot with a good friend of mine who has unfortunately passed a number of years ago, Dr. Abraham Nemeth. Some of the listeners might know him
Yeah.
as the inventor of the Nemeth Braille code for math and science. One of the smartest people I've ever met. I just an absolute genius, and I learned so much, from being around really smart people like that. I then sort of got into Braille as something that interested me, just as a way to exchange information. It's a fascinating language and code, and realized the power of it. And I've been kind of, I guess, maybe obsessed with coming up with ways to transmit Braille ever since then.
There's another fascinating, I guess, a key point about yourself there, Dave. You've been to almost every state in the United States except for a couple.
Yep.
Which ones are they? Do you?
I've been to all 48 mainland states very extensively, pretty much every major city in the US and even a lot of the small ones. Have not been to Alaska or Hawaii yet, but they're on my bucket list. And I've also been overseas, many other countries.
Come on, Dave, hurry up.
I know,
Hawaii's
right?
calling.
That one's easy. In fact, we just got an order the other day from Hawaii, and as a joke, I went out on the floor to ask any of the employees who wanted to deliver the unit, and everybody was raising their hand, right?
I think I should help you guys.
You're ready
This-
to come? Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, it's fascinating to, like I said, not only that you're trying to cover states for every state, but yourself, what makes you unique, I would say, is you come from the state of Indiana. So could you explain more about your location, or what kind of products does your location produce?
Yeah, so we're located in Lafayette, Indiana, which is the home of Purdue University. So after graduate school and starting businesses, I sort of got connected here to the area. And Indiana is in the middle of the United States geographically. The nickname of Indiana is the Crossroads of America. And it's very apt because almost all traffic across the United States passes through Indiana. We have more semi traffic really than any state. We have one of the busiest shipping corridors. And Indiana actually is an exceptional state, one of the top states in automated assembly. People don't know this,
Fascinating.
Interesting. I wouldn't have known that either.
right? Yeah, you think of corn and soybeans, which obviously we have a lot of that too, but and basketball, of
Reggie
course.
Miller? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Reggie Miller. But we also do a lot with high tech stuff. We have a kind of almost a mini Silicon Valley here with a lot of investment activity, a lot of facilities, everything from, chips, PCBs, all the way up to computers and medical devices, some really large companies. And so what's interesting is Indiana has this great resource of supply chain. They have all these companies that make all these little bits and pieces for automotive, aerospace, military, you name it. And the talent. They have all these people that are trained to run robots and do assembly and all these complex things, but our cost of living is quite low, one of the lowest states. So that lets us create facilities here on unused land. Many of these shops I mentioned are literally a pole barn in the middle of a cornfield, right? But inside that pole barn are millions of dollars worth of complex equipment. So it keeps the overhead low. And because of that, we were able to start our facility to make the Cadence tablet with a tight control over our supply chain and access to local talent to help us to build all the product. And that's let us make a very high quality product without having it cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make each one, which if we were in some other states that were much more expensive, who knows how much it would be.
And most of your parts are actually sourced within a few hundred miles, right? I mean,
That's right. Yeah,
mostly right there in Indiana or close by, at least.
I think 95% of my parts are within a 1 hour drive. So, and
It's
then
incredible. I
it's
mean,
incredible. Yeah, we have a couple vendors that are in adjacent states, so I couldn't quite get it all the way into Indiana, but close.
You know what? Let me go dive into this one piece of conversation that we took from Asia for the audience. You offer 2 years worth of warranty. Where did you come up with this idea of warranty, and why do you think the way you think today from where you were when you started this product?
You know, I might be a bad entrepreneur in the sense that I'm very customer friendly or focused. So I always think about what it would be like for somebody to spend a lot of money on something and then it breaks. I've been there, right? And I've seen a lot of people over the years as I was sort of collecting data about how people interact and use technology. One of the biggest complaints that I've seen is people saying, I've spent all this money and then the thing broke and the company wouldn't support me. And I don't know what to do because it was an agency that paid for it and I can't
right.
get a replacement and everybody's passing the buck to somebody else. And I didn't want to be that company. And so, I had some criticism when I said we should do a 2 year warranty. And then I took it a step further and said, and that should cover replacement for any reason. Somebody drops it or spills soda on it, we'll just send them a new one. And worst case, we get the old one back, we fix it, and it can be a refurb for somebody else. But people said, well, how can that work? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm an idiot or maybe I'm a genius, but we're a couple years into it now, and everybody seems to love it. So I hope to continue that as long as we can. There are some economic realities eventually that we all face, but we also offer an extended warranty, which people can just buy as a subscription. And the goal we have is that we'll keep people in new devices as long as we can. So rather than having to, have a device that breaks and they have a long gap before they can afford another one, that we have some way that they can have continuous access to these devices.
Well, and the whole thing is that everything is in this device is made there at your factory, so it is possible to be able to fix devices because that's exactly where they were put together and were inspired and everything else. So
I have a funny story I can tell you about that actually. I know that I also get criticized sometimes for telling stories, but we have some customers who are local. They're within Indiana. They can get to our facility. So I had a young man who's a student at Purdue call in and say, "Hey, I've got some problems with my units. Can I come in and maybe you can help me fix them?" I said, "Sure." So he came in. He had a few things really minor. We helped him right there. I let him come out and sit on the production floor with the rest of the team and just sort of hang out. And while we took a look at his units, and everything seemed to be pretty much fine. But it was hey, better safe than sorry. Check it out.
sure.
Well, then he called me back up again. Came back over another problem. Oh, sure, come on over. Came out and sit on the floor. While I was fixing the units and we were talking with the rest of the team, he was sort of like touching parts and kind of, exploring what was on the table. And well, then he calls a third time. Maybe he's got some problems with the units. Comes
Oh,
over. At this point, I start to realize he doesn't have any problems with the units. He likes to hang out with the team and
I
feel
think
like he's
so.
doing something.
You're not giving out free donuts or anything over there,
No,
are you?
no donuts that day.
The
Yeah.
value of teamwork, though. Again, it's all about the team.
He just felt like it was fun to be part of something and then to learn how his device worked. He got to feel the pieces, he got to feel the machines, he got to talk to the people that made it. And that gave him some comfort, in having that camaraderie.
And I've met that team, so I can understand. So
By the way, Dave, are you actually at your facility right now?
I am. In fact, right behind me is a picture from one of our events, which is the Great Eclipse of 2024,
Ooh.
for which Dave Hillibbrandt created an awesome song.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to actually catch some break, a couple of minutes here. Some sponsors like yourself here, Mr. Schleppenbach. And we'll be right back.
lots more on Dave.
We all know the stories. A blind child can't get a Braille teacher. A blind student won't receive a textbook. A blind adult is barred from a dream career. It's a constant drumbeat of lost opportunities. It's time to change the music. The Cadence Tactile Graphics Tablet is a revolutionary refreshable display that enables users to access images, multiple lines of Braille, and interactive animation. A child can meet their Braille teacher online. A student can carry thousands of books in their pocket. An adult can draw charts, edit diagrams, and collaborate with coworkers in real time. Paint pictures. Play video games. Watch baseball. Create new content and send it out into the world. Learn and live at your own pace. March to your own rhythm. To learn more about the Cadence Tablet, visit cadencetablet.com.
Lynn, I'm looking for the lid to the container for the tuna fish. I want to put the tuna fish in the container, but I can't find the lids.
Michael, the lid is under the toaster oven.
Oh, Lynn, come on now. This is ridiculous. What a joke. Lynn, if you would have gotten Mr. Lid, their lids are attached to the containers. This wouldn't be happening, Lynn.
All right, Michael, I'll go to MrLid.com and we'll get organized.
Thank you.
Tired of losing the lids to food storage containers and cluttered cabinets? Well, Mr. Lid containers solve that with their unique attached lid design, making them easier to find, use, and organize. With sizes from half a cup to 1 gallon, they're stackable, food safe, and easy to clean, making your life easier. Get yours today at MrLid.com. Use code BEYOND15 for first-time customers. That's MrLid.com.
At the Carroll Center for the Blind, vision loss isn't the end, it's a new beginning. Since 1936, we have helped individuals of all ages build the skills, confidence, and independence to thrive in a sighted world. From technology training to mobility and career readiness, we don't just teach, we transform lives. Take charge of your vision loss journey. Visit carroll.org.
We are back. This is the Blind and Beyond show with Dave and Hershey, along with our guest tonight, Dave Schleppenbach. And we're talking to Dave about Tactile Engineering as well as the Cadence Tablet and other cool things he has done. We might just get into a little bit deeper into the real Dave. So
Most definitely. You know, I'm so pleased, man. I got Dave and Dave here. This is just a pleasure. You got one Dave that knows how to play guitar and one man that made a Guitar Hero. Man, this is fascinating to be part of this conversation, ladies and gentlemen. And again, if you do have questions or thoughts, please reach out to us at blindandbeyondshow@gmail.com or drop us a comment on YouTube. We hope to connect with you down there. So if you had questions for Mr. Dave Schleppenbach of the Go Touchable brand, we'll get to that in a minute, and also Tactile Engineering. And if you have questions for us, Dave Hillibbrandt, my co-host. So, Dave, I think Hillibbrandt, I think you have more questions or thoughts. How about we dive into more of what the Cadence has and the Dave and Dave's? Why don't you guys?
well, I
Figure
do
this
want to
out.
talk about the Cadence Tablet, which I think is the coolest, one of the coolest accessibility devices around, which I'm a proud owner of. But first, I do want to touch on one little thing, Dave, that makes you very unique on top of being an entrepreneur, inventor, and all-around good guy. And I happen to be, I've had the pleasure of meeting and friends with your entire family, I do believe. And so if you don't mind sharing with the world, how many kids do you have? And, maybe tell us about how you met the Miss Darlene.
Wow, yeah. So
I'm not putting you on the spot, am I?
no, not at all. We have a really large family. We have 24 children, which is
Amazing.
17 girls, 7 boys, most of whom are adults now. We like to say we only have 7 living with us now that are under 18, which might be a lot for most people, but sort of a vacation for us. But so how that worked out is I was a single parent of 15, had lost a spouse, and Darlene was a single parent of 9 and had lost a spouse. And so if you add 15 and 9, you get 24, at least last time I did the math.
There you go.
And thus was the family born. And I give real credit to Darlene. It would not be possible for me to do anything that I do without her support. Here I am on a Monday night doing a YouTube show while she's holding down the fort. But she does get to travel with me a lot, as do the kids, and we get a chance to show them different parts of the country and meet people who are very interesting, such as Hershey and Dave.
We owe you,
And,
Darlene.
there
I
you
love
go.
you, darling. Yes, exactly.
We're
It's
not
always a
worthy.
pleasure.
And Hershey's gotten a chance to show the kids some pretty cool beaches in the Daytona area, and they've sure got a kick out of that.
He's got a wonderful family. That's all I can say.
Between
Just-
that, you got turtles. I mean, again, with the whole family, thank you for what you guys do. Whenever you do come out here to the Florida area, again, you're traveling through all the 48 states. That's why I wanted to paint that picture before we went on ads, is y'all go together as a family.
It is a beautiful thing, and right now, of course, I originally met Dave through the Blind and Beyond radio show, as he was a sponsor with Tactile Engineering and the Cadence Tablet, which is a very cool Braille type device. And for many people that don't know what that is, I wonder if you could describe that first of all, and then we'll talk about your newest venture with the Touchable brand, Dave.
Sure, absolutely. So I've actually got one in my hand. I'm just holding it up for the camera here. The Cadence is a portable computing device. It has pins that move up and down on it. that actually make images on the screen. And right now, I just have one that's displaying some letters, and I'm just pushing a button on it to kind of go through A, B, C, D, and so forth. But these pins, there's 384 of them on one device that are pixels. They make tactile pixels that you can feel, and you can do Braille, you can do raised print, tactile graphics, animation. You can even play video on it. One cadence, like I said, is about the size, shape, and weight of an iPhone. And there's a left and a right cadence. I have two of them here, and I've actually just snapped them together. They fit together in a modular fashion. So now I have one cadence that spans the entire screen left and right. And you can connect up to four of them to make a tablet. So these can fit in your pocket. You can use them for work, doing boring stuff like spreadsheets and email and web stuff. You can use them for schoolwork, doing even more boring stuff like science and math, and your calculus homework, or doing your periodic table. Or you can do fun things like play Pong with your friends or watch sports live. And maybe the funnest thing, at least for me, because I'm a nerd, actually just yesterday we launched yet another cadence in a rocket. We do a lot of partnerships with NASA, and we are prone to taking objects and launching them up into space or near space and recovering them. So I'll get that cadence back tomorrow, and we'll see what happened, if it still works.
That seriously again? Again, speechless Hershey bar here. You do this for me
That's
often,
my
Dave.
friend Dave. He loves sending stuff up into space and see if it returns.
By the way, gentlemen, we actually have a question. We're on YouTube this time around, and we do actually have a question. If our great TD, Mr. Mike, would you be able to read out that question?
Of course. Kelly James from YouTube is asking, ask Dave S. if things get cheaper by the dozen.
It's one of our favorite movies. So another one is Yours, Mine, and Ours. But, I would say, from my experience, now maybe it's because I have so many girls, so I could be wrong, but I think things get more expensive by the dozen, for me at least.
That's true. I thought she was working on a deal to buy like 3 or 4 cadences.
Yeah, that one might work. But my trips to Sam's Club and Costco, it seems to be larger bill every time instead of smaller. So I don't know.
I'm sure that is true. And Kelly, he does travel with the kids, and he doesn't bring 24 of them around, but he's certainly brought 6 or 7 by here. So I know that they exist.
And I would be remiss if I didn't tell the two of you that my son Mark says hi to both of you. And
he's
Hershey,
awesome
just so you know,
Yes.
he's still working on that Rubik's Cube, trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Well,
and he will certainly figure it out.
yeah.
He's a smart
it's
guy.
fascinating to look at the kids and just grown-ups and even adults, but it's the way we all learn in different fashions. Some might be tactile, as we are kinetic learning. Some might be auditory. Some might what's the other one here? Visual, the stuff I don't have. But thank you again, Kelly, for the question there, and this interactivity. But when you look at your product now, where do you see it at a current state? And can anybody in any state pick it up and buy one?
Because it's actually, I've as few of years as I've known you, I know it has changed and gone through some big changes as far as lighter weight, and I know you've shrunk it and a little bit of everything already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, you think of it like an iPhone, it changes over time and new versions come out. But so you can now get the cadence everywhere. Something that's pretty new for us, Hershey mentioned this, we did launch a new brand, and that's gotouchable.com, gotouchable.com. And on that site, we actually have a Shopify cart, so you can buy a cadence for yourself. And very soon we're going to add financing to that through our partner, Affirm. So you'll be able to just simply make monthly payments to get a cadence. Hopefully that'll make it easy, but it doesn't matter what state or country that you're in. Right now we have users in 15 states and 5 countries, and rapidly expanding. If you need help buying a cadence, you can reach out to us, fill out the contact form at our website. we'll see if we can work with vocational rehabilitation or a school district or a nonprofit to try to get a Cadence to you.
A lot of times those the VR groups like Division of Blind Services are already familiar with this product, and of course Dave can help maybe navigate some of the paperwork as well. But
Matter of fact, that story, as you say, Dave actually came down here in 2024, I want to say, and he's actually he's a approved state vendor for Florida. So, what other states, if you wouldn't mind, if we've got Florida down, what other states would you mention so far, Dave?
Well, see, now you're putting me to the real test, but
alphabetically, please.
Oh, yeah, right. In reverse alphabetical order.
Yeah, exactly. If you would.
We leave it to Mark to figure out a Rubik's Cube. Come on, Mr.
There we go.
Schleppenbach.
Yeah, I can tell you for certainty, Indiana, Ohio, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Utah, California, Colorado, and I think Arizona, and I don't know if I hit the 15 yet, but that's as far as I'm getting tonight.
No worries, no worries.
Your family would be proud of you. Good job.
Thank you. Because again, we want to make sure people are at least aware. Here for me in Florida, I would go through Division of Blind Services to request, and again, to tell people more about it. It is a device that can let you feel graphics, essentially. It can help you in mathematics to feel, let's say, a graph. It can help you to learn Braille by learning to go one letter at a time if you could feel embossed letters. And this is just coming from my perspective or my trial and error whenever Dave has come down here for conferences. Is there any future plans for conferences for yourself where people could actually feel this or see this in person?
Yeah, actually, I'm really glad you brought that up. And of course, we just attended ATIA, as you mentioned, and that was a lot of fun and really enjoyed meeting everybody. I am headed out next week to the CSUN conference, CSUN, out in LA. I was able to go at the last minute, and we're going to share a booth with a wonderful partner. And I wanted to tell everybody about this.
Hershey's drooling right now.
There we go. Yeah.
CSUN.
Next time you're coming with me, Hershey, even if I have to pack you in my suitcase.
Thank you.
We'll be sharing with a company called the Touchpad Pro Foundation, and they make a really cool product called the Braille Doodle. It's a very
wonderful people. Yes.
Really fun product, very inexpensive, wonderful people. They've generously offered to help us to exhibit. And so, next year we'll do something more elaborate. Later on in the year, we do have plans to attend a couple of the member group conferences. So the NFB and ACB meetings. We have some regional conferences. We're very often going to conferences in the Southeast of the United States. So we may go to the Alabama NFB meeting coming up in the spring here. We will be at another conference in California, CTVBI, or yes, I think CTEVBI. I always get the acronym wrong. And that's out in the Southern California area. That's in April.
You like that warm weather stuff, don't you? Tell the truth.
I won't be at that one, unfortunately. Other people get to go, but yes, I do like the warm weather. I tend to minimize the conferences in northern Michigan where my family lives.
And even though Dave does live in the north right now, he is originally a Southerner.
That's right.
Or not so.
Yes, I was born in Florida. My wife was born in Florida, and we were cruelly transplanted against our wishes. So someday we'll come back.
Lovely weather, temperatures.
Spreading the love, though.
65 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius for our friends across the pond and anywhere else. So, it's weather and all of that set aside. If people wanted to, in between now and then, where can they find you aside from Go Touchable?
So if anyone's in the Southern California area and going to the CSUN conference, definitely look us up there. I should tell the viewers that we are probably going to have a CSUN conference special. So if you come to the conference and get our coupon code, you'll have yourself a nice, pleasant surprise there when you go to our store and buy a Cadence. will offering us some sort of a special deal and that's mainly because we want people to go to these conferences. I feel it's really important as an industry for consumers to come to these conferences and speak their
Sure.
voice. Tell the producers of the products what you want. Part of the reason I travel so much is just to listen to people tell me what it is that they actually want, because I want to go through all this work of making this complicated device, which has 3,500 parts, believe it or not, and then find out I made it wrong.
So,
Right?
so Dave, I really want to try to get into the cadence a little bit more before
Sure.
we finish up with you. So, the the cadence can do so many different things, and there's no way we can cover them all right now. But I want to highlight a couple of the big differences. We're not going to mention competitors and all that stuff, but what makes yours unique. And I can say, as a Braille user, for those people that are actually already learning Braille or already know Braille, one thing that's huge about this device is the fact that it is several lines of Braille rather than your typical Braille device. Braille goes across one line. If you're lucky, 20 to 40 characters, and then you've got to flip down to the next line and keep on going like that. And I found that to be quite problematic when you're reading, especially if you're trying to read aloud. So your product has several lines of Braille at one time. So if you might talk about that for a minute, then we'll get into some other neat things that you can do with it.
Sure, yeah. So it's designed, as I said, to be modular. So one cadence, which is called the Cadence Pocket, because it fits in your pocket, that's 4 lines. That gives you 4 lines of Braille. If you want a wider format and you snap 2 of these together, then that takes you to a wider Braille format, double width. So now you're up to 24 characters of Braille by 4 lines. And if you go with the 4, the workstation, that's 8 lines of 24 characters. So just with the 2 that I mentioned, we call that the Cadence Pro, a right and a left. That's giving you 96 Braille characters in your pocket. That's an awful lot of Braille.
It is.
And 4-line format. So you can do a lot of work that way. And it's designed to make it so that reading is enjoyable. And people who didn't think they could learn Braille or found reading Braille cumbersome would start to enjoy that, and it becomes part of their life.
But also with the quad setup with 4 of these, people might think that is a huge, why would anyone need 4 Braille devices? But truthfully, if you've got a big a project, let's say you do copy editing, for example, or doing different types of editing, or where you need to see the full layout, you can see the full picture a lot easier. Just as a sighted person prefers to have something laid out in a very large setup. So.
Dave, actually, I had a question from actually a user that was, well, a potential user, let's just say. What platforms does the Cadence tablet work on, specifically for accessibility needs? How does one connect it to other, I guess, platforms?
Yeah, no, great question. So we tried to be really flexible. I like Apple's motif that it should just work. You shouldn't have to do a lot of fussing with it. So we're fully compatible with other assistive technology. If you want to use VoiceOver or JAWS or NVDA or something, it just works with that. It'll connect to almost any phone, tablet, or computer, and it connects by Bluetooth. And then we also have a special app called Cadence OS, which has the special features, and that runs on Windows, Mac, Linux. We've just recently compiled that for Chromebook. And so forth. So it's almost any system, any platform. The only thing we haven't fully integrated with is Android and TalkBack, and we're in process, thanks to Hershey, of working on that.
Not a problem.
It'll happen pretty quickly.
Yeah, just wanted to make note of that. So when we say Mac, it's Mac OS, iOS rather,
Yeah,
right?
either
So-
one. You can run it on desktop Mac OS, or you can run it on iOS with an iPad
And
or an
then-
iPhone.
So both iPad and iOS. So
Yeah.
it works on those, basically all Mac devices. But just want to make clarity for people that if you have an iPad, you'll have the Cadence OS application to you. If you have a Mac computer, same deal. And then same for an iOS device such as an iPhone.
Yes, and then if you have Windows, it's compatible with all the Windows devices. If
Right,
you
like
run Linux, same thing.
so JAWS would be your screen reader for people that are using Windows perhaps or NVDA.
Yep.
And then Android, it soon to come. Actually met them at ATIA, so it's really fun to meet some of these big vendors. And again, these conferences is where you get to meet people like real human beings like Dave Schleppenbach. So Dave, it's been a blast to, this year you've started off for me with rockets, and maybe we might have to come meet up at the Artemis rocket soon enough and
I
maybe get
sure
it
hope
on.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me though, we've talked about how the cadence can be used in more educational and work, and that's very important. But the other side is the social aspect, and which I've has found to be amazing. My first real experience with Dave up in Indiana was I was invited to go up to experience the solar eclipse and what they did with hooking the cadence up to up to a telescope, and I'm hoping you can fill us in a little bit on how that was done and what everybody got to experience.
We do a lot of events. It's different and fun every time. We focused on things like sports and large public events. For the eclipse, we actually rigged a video feed from our telescopes directly to the cadence so that the image of the sun disappearing was broadcast to people's fingers as they were feeling that on the cadence platform. And then we also had the telemetry from our high altitude balloon launch experiments beamed down in real time to the cadence. So people who designed the experiments, we had the school kids actually design the experiments and control that mission while it was in flight. And that was in partnership with NASA.
One thing
So
to
in
note,
other words, while it was
you don't have to remove your fingers either, right?
You do
It
not have to
says-
take your fingers off. You leave them on, they'll move, the dots will move under your fingers. That's right.
and while the moon was going across the screen, we literally could feel that as just the sight of people were watching it, in the sky. So real time, this was happening, and just like the Indy 500, I did get to check that out. Which on the cadence, you literally could feel the cars go around the screen, which is a pretty wild.
It was fun, and what a fun day both of those events were, although tiring, right, Dave?
Indeed. Just a
both
bit
you Daves and
tired.
Daves are inspiring me because you know what? In my backyard, I got NASCAR here because I live in Daytona Beach. So let's see if we could get at your local NASCAR near you, I'm kidding, in Daytona Beach near you,
Right.
to have the Cadence tablet. That would be fascinating to watch or feel the cars.
It is. It's amazing, but also built into each cadence in their software are games that you could actually play with sighted people, and it's a great way to be able to bond. I've had a great time with my son, who loves video games, and now it's something that I can enjoy with him. Playing Pong or some other different race car games and stuff that you never think that a blind person can enjoy that kind of thing with somebody else, but it's awesome.
So Dave Schleppenbach, is there anything that we've not asked you or that you would like our audience to know before we let you go, and maybe any other websites or any other things that you'd like for our audience here at the Blind and Beyond show to know?
We can get more in depth in a later time, but certainly I'm sure there's some secret that you might
Sure.
tell
Well,
only us. We won't tell anybody else.
I do tend to have a lot of information that we release exclusively on the Blind and Beyond show. So one thing I will say is we do have a bunch of new features planned. And anyone who purchases a Cadence as part of this conference special that we're doing, or within a short period of time thereafter, is automatically included in our upgrade policy. So that means if we do release new features or a new hardware unit, we'll just upgrade your old unit for you. That comes with part of the warranty and replacement service. So I hope that gives people some confidence in us. We always say take a small risk with us, and we'll make it worth your while. And smiles and happiness, and hopefully some high scores on some of those video games that you mentioned, Dave.
Hey, that is incredible that you actually do updates some of your gear, because as technology goes on, I mean, most of the time the whole thing is, well, you got to buy another one and keep on buying. But but you understand the importance of.
One quick thing I think we forgot to mention. You're basically on generation 2 of this device. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
And going on to generation 3 potentially?
Yeah, so we're gonna have an official launch soon of what we will actually call the Cadence 2, kind of like how iPhone 1, 2, 3, and so forth. And then we already have a roadmap built out for Cadence 3. And again, this is something that whenever you enter the stream here, whenever you buy your device, and I encourage people sooner rather than later because we seem to be back ordered all the time. So if you want one, get in now before we get overloaded. But we'll
I'm sure
update
you'll
you.
share with us and tell us when these big changes are happening, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And we'll make sure you're taken care of. We value every single customer that we have. And I feel bad whenever anybody has to wait more than a couple days to get theirs, but this is a good time right now to come in and take advantage of our conference special and have a lot of fun and maybe learn something at the same time.
I know you will.
Absolutely.
I had the pleasure of actually going through the factory, so I can tell you, not only Dave, the CEO, but all the workers down to the assembly line. They care about what they're doing, and they're all part of they've got the passion and all part of the mission. So it's pretty cool.
Agreed. And I definitely met a few of the folks on their team at the conferences. So again, if you do see Joe out there and Amy, who's done some programming with them, and Veronica, who's there's some fascinating stories that are out there. And again, gotouchable.com is how you find more information about the Cadence tablet. And if you're in the Indiana, Lafayette, Indiana area, perhaps maybe, reach out to them, maybe take a tour. And Dave Schleppenbach, thank you so much again for taking the time. And you know what? Let me ask our little voice of reason, Mike, do we have anything said from YouTube land, as we call it these days? Any comments?
Anything
concerns?
we need to address?
Nothing for specific for Mr. Schleppenbach.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank you.
good.
Thank you so much for having me. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And
Thanks for making the time, my friend, and keep us updated when new cool things come out. But I love my Cadence, and I can only tell you it's well worth checking into.
Thanks, guys. Great to talk to everybody. Have a great night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Love to Darlene and the family, and hope to see you guys
my
soon.
warmest regards.
Very good. Thanks you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Dave
Bye-bye.
Schleppenbach with Tactile Engineering and
Yes,
Go
indeed.
Touchables. And
So, you know what, Dave? Let's remind the folks out there, if you're checking out the stream, and we've got this 1 hour stream so far under our belts, but if you go to youtube.com and you type in there, Blind and Beyond Show, you'll be able to find this live stream and share it amongst your friends. I apologize in the past. We just started it last week, and we're trying to tighten up the show, so be certain that I will try my best to get you the links ahead of time so you could share it with your friends and family. And for you folks from last week, so much love. Thank you for.
of course, don't forget to like and share and subscribe.
Dave, they did that, man. There was like 20 likes and there's like 5-6 seriously, I'm reading them. So please keep them coming. If you have any thoughts, please don't hesitate to drop a comment, or if you feel shy, email us blindandbeyondshow@gmail.com.
Don't be
and
shy.
or blindandbeyondradioshow.org if you want to talk to the motherships. If you have questions about the organization, reach out there, and you could always donate to blindandbeyondradioshow.org. So Dave, you ready for some CWs?
I'm ready to talk about some ham radio with our good friend Russ here in just a moment. After a moment of jamming, I think here.
Yeah, get our
Anxious
bearings
to talk about
straight.
our hobby,
Wait a minute, Dave, is that you hitting that little tune?
Dave.
Which Dave is it? Y'all, so many Daves here.
yeah. So, we are back with Big Bad number 2. Hour number 2, my friends. Had a great time talking with Dave Schleppenbach with the Cadence Tablet, Tactile Engineering. And now, I'm very much looking forward to talking to Russ Davis up in Jacksonville, a blind ham, who both Hirsch and I share a hobby. And
You know what, Dave? I know y'all like your ham. I was just a ham. I think Russ is a little bit more than just a ham. I'm just
he
saying.
is. He's not just a ham.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Amateur radio, by the way. You know, I know people think ham. We think that we're like pork lovers.
Yeah, they
or
might look at us
something,
weird.
you know.
Like, what are these guys? Why are they calling him a ham?
They're
Right?
into pork, or pulled pork or something. Nope. We're talking
I'm
about
vegetarian,
amateur
right?
radio.
Yeah.
So let's bring him in now.
Yes,
Ladies
indeed.
and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we've got Russ Davis coming in from Jacksonville via internet.
I think I made it.
You did indeed.
All right.
Good
So at
day,
least
good
we got
evening,
some-
Russ.
I'm waiting for a producer to whisper in my ear, Russ, you're looking at the ceiling. Russ, you're looking at your toes. So,
That's
and
okay.
luckily, he hasn't said anything yet. So
That's right.
Russ is all good. Enjoy.
thanks, Mike.
And again, we want to also say a quick thank you to Mike Latta for our technical director, for our assistance, and the voice of reason, if you might hear that voice. And Russ, thank you again for taking your time to meet up with us on this
You
Monday
know it.
evening. Thank you. And so, Russ, I'll take it back just a little bit. Could you explain to our audience who is Russ Davis and what state and where do you come from?
Well, he's no Dave Schleppenbach. Let me tell you that. I'm smiling, thinking I have to follow that.
Shorter name, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is a shorter name. That's why I went with Russ, because if you stumble over words, Russell is there's some pitfalls in there. So it's just a one syllable. Hey, Russ, how you doing? Shortened that up as I got older in life. So I am resident of Jacksonville, Florida. Been here in Northeast Florida for, in Florida most of my life. Spent a little time in South Carolina, did a high school and college up there. And back in the 80s, starting to date myself, right? David's going to do the math here in a minute. So back in the mid 80s, I left college, got my degree, came back down to St. Augustine, ran a company for a year, cleaning condos in churches and houses and whatever I could clean, and decided to get another job and spent 30 years working for the state of Florida in different agencies. Always the goal was to be a help to people no matter what I was doing. And about 10 years ago, I stepped away from that career. It did have something to do with the loss of vision. I'd always been blind. Could see as a kid, never could see at night. I've got a condition called RP, retinitis pigmentosa. See, that's why I come up with shorter words. So
blame you,
retinitis pigmentosa is a mouthful.
A lot of us blind people have had to pick that word up.
Yeah, there you go. So RP, how about that?
Macular degeneration, does that count?
It's kind of the opposite, essentially. I mean, they're both inherited retinal conditions, scientifically, and how it works, Hershey, is that with MACD, as I started calling it, you lose your central vision first, and it kind of spreads out. With RP, you lose your side vision first, and it kind of falls inward, like you're eventually looking through a straw.
Okay.
I was blessed a couple of years ago with words from my ophthalmologist, Russ, you have both. I looked at him and said,
you.
I actually
Ta-da!
paused and said, seriously? And the doctor I'd known for years, he held his hands in the air and defeatist kind of look, and he goes, it's not my fault. So
Yeah, I had
Well,
my finger close to the mute button just in case. Yeah,
there you
I
go.
can
Now,
imagine what he
yeah.
might have said.
Oh man. So about 2015, I stepped away from a 30-year career with the state of Florida and decided that I would pursue a life of saying yes. That's kind of what's happened.
Very
Anybody who knows
positive.
me, that well, yes to anything anybody asks me to do. So that's the problem there, Dave, is that I don't know how to say no when people say,
Gotcha.
would you mind, have you thought about joining? Would you be on
Sure.
this board? What about doing this? And here a couple of weeks ago, the phone rings and somebody on the phone says, hey, what do you think about doing some kind of YouTube show? And I
Who
should have
crazy would
said
do
no.
that?
I,
who could that have been? Who could that have been?
So here I am.
So you're talking about being on different boards. So I know that you're involved with the NFB. Is that correct?
The National Federation of the Blind of Florida. I'm on their state board. I work in different areas within the affiliate.
Hey, Russ, can I get the corrections here in my head?
Yeah.
National Federation of
That's a big word, right?
Oh yeah,
because
people
it's
are
not
worried about
for the
that.
blind, it's of the blind.
That's exactly right, and it works the same for the American Council of the Blind.
Okay.
And it always makes me grin when people within the organization get the words wrong, and I think, wait, that's critical that we are running our own lives in our own organization,
Right.
and instead of having them run for us by others. So
Currently, just to give visuals or audio description, I am wearing a blue shirt, which the patch actually has the NFB patch on it. It might say Greater Daytona Beach or something. I'm not sure, but
okay.
maybe technical director could, I don't know.
And
But
I'm wearing
it's-
a very fashionable Blind and Beyond shirt, by the way. That's very
So
important
audio
to
description and such, right? Because again, we're three gentlemen here with
I'm not
sight
wearing
loss.
anything at all. Just kidding. Just
there you
kidding.
go.
It's not that kind of show. So.
Definitely
I can
don't-
confirm that the
and don't-
TD can confirm that Russ has actually got clothes on. Okay, thank you,
Yes.
audience.
What am
We
I
definitely
wearing,
don't
Mike?
want any video description on that anyway.
But you know, it's interesting as we speak audio, video, and things that we're uncomfortable with. And I think Russ, I think that's what kind of led me to conversing with you even more. We hadn't spoke for quite some time, but last year in October there was the NFB of FL Florida convention conference in Orlando, Florida, and matter of fact, Dave Schleppenbach, who was on the show or just a moment ago, was actually one of the vendors that came down from Indiana and a couple others. But amongst meeting vendors and people, I think it's the real humanistic story. Russ, you also picked up a hobby along your journey of sight loss, and that is, as we recalled earlier, is ham radio. And during the conference, if you recall, we actually brought in Dave Hillibbrandt, my co-host here, and we talked about it. But could you give us just a little quick synopsis? Because I'll let you and Dave get into it like really deep in a minute, but just a quick synopsis of what is ham radio to you?
Yeah, why did you get into ham radio to begin with? You know, why in the world would someone do something like that?
Yeah, I was one of those kids that always had, a little AM or FM radio around. It was very important as audio. I mean, I could see good enough to watch TV as a kid, but for some reason, maybe I saw the future coming, and I loved audio. I loved the sound of voices, and whether they were close by or far away, especially far away, right? With radio, you never know where they're coming from when they come out of that little speaker in that little box that's in your hand. So I was the kid that would sit up late at night, especially with AM, and tune from one side of the dial to the other.
Oh, me too.
Enough of a nerd to write down the stations in a log. And I just got, WSL, and I just got WCOS out of Columbia, South Carolina, or WPT in Charlotte, 1110 AM.
Right.
And you'd write them down and you'd say, oh, wow, I got Oklahoma. And it was fascinating. So that was a fun thing as a kid. And what kid, especially what little boy, right, doesn't like running around with a walkie-talkie in their hand saying, I'm over at the fort, or you come up with a code word so they don't know what you mean. So in college, ended up listening to shortwave. A buddy would leave to go home on the weekends. He was a commuter, and I wasn't. And he would walk into my dorm room on Friday afternoons. Good friend, still is to this day. Some 40 plus years later. And he would
Would you
smile and say, "Here's the radio," and he would leave the shortwave radio and pick it up on Sunday.
would,
And I always wanted the amateur license, and I just about a year and a half ago
Mhm.
told myself it was time, that I wasn't going to be the guy that died with the tombstone that read, "Here's the list of stuff he meant to do," and number one was going to be amateur radio if I didn't do something about
Right.
it.
Because I mean, there are other technologies as well, but the point I wanted to also make is it's only been a couple years since you've been in this field of ham radio stuff. So
I'll give you a fun date, Hershey.
sure, go ahead.
Yesterday was my only 1 year
Congratulations.
anniversary with my call sign. So it's
Holy
been
cow.
360
Congratulations.
whatever. So I was
Happy
walking around
anniversary.
yesterday. Yeah, walking around telling everybody yesterday that the FCC granted me the call sign of KR4BUZ Buzz.
They created
And
a monster.
I have been told over and over not to change that call. So yesterday was a buzz-iversary. I'm
It's got a ring
gonna
Happy
get a
to
shirt.
it.
anniversary.
Yeah, happy buzz-iversary to me, right? So it was a year ago yesterday that I logged into an FCC website and looked, and there was my name and a call sign next to it. Pretty
That is
fun.
so awesome. You know, within to say that when you were growing up, because you mentioned a couple of different places like St. Augustine and other things,
Mhm.
were you the kid that was into sports and other things, or like,
Played a little, a few things. I could catch a ball maybe. I hated basketball as a blind kid. There was something about that big giant ball coming at your face. I just
right,
didn't
right,
Yeah.
right,
like
right.
it. So I played a little bit of football. I found it was a lot easier to kick and punt than it was to do other stuff. Because then I always knew where the ball was. A tiny bit of baseball, but I used to run when I was in college. I ran, and that was what I guess I excelled in. I think I ran a 5K once in under 6 minutes. So if you're running
Nice.
a 5 minute 5K,
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm sorry. They were 5 minute miles. It was about 15:36 for 5 point whatever miles. So that was probably the highlight of my running life.
And what college you go to?
I went to a little college in South Carolina called Newberry College, and the town of Newberry is north of Columbia, between Columbia and Spartanburg. A little tiny school, been there since 1856.
Wow.
When I started, there were 540 students. So I think Hershey has a pair of socks that could probably beat my college's football team, because that's how small we were. Until this year. I guess they're bigger now and they're more successful, but it was one of those idyllic little college schools that you'd see in a movie, almost like not quite Animal House, but you've got the quad and the old buildings around the quad and the fountain. And it's just what you'd see in Hollywood.
Did you have
So,
vision loss at that point, or were you going through
yeah, I
any
was
vision
born
loss?
with RP. So
Okay.
at night, I couldn't see hardly anything, just like now. And I look back and I smile about it and I think about it and I think, I don't remember using a cane, but how in the world did I get along? How did I get through the dark campuses? And how did I one night, to this day, I can't remember how. God's going to tell me one day, but I was in my dorm room listening to my college radio station. I was the program manager for the radio station. And I flipped on the little AM radio and I was listening to the local station in town who picked up the feed from the radio transmitters of the equipment down in the basement of our chapel. Threw it to us every night at 8 p.m. And there was dead air.
Uh-oh.
I said,
Oh, that's never good.
I'm thinking, I think so-and-so is supposed to be over there. Why aren't they? And I grabbed my shoes and I don't know how I did it, how I ran across the campus over to the chapel, buildings away.
Had to use some
Yeah, just came
clues, I'm sure.
jumping down the stairs into the room. I said, "You're not on the air." And they said, "I'm not." And they were just talking away and playing music. So I reached over, flipped a few switches. And even back then, radio was just such a fun thing. There it was commercial or, well, college. So I don't know how commercial that is. And
Yeah.
then later it became just a strong desire to put a wire in the air, which I still need to do, and put some fire in the wire. Dave, is that the phrase everybody's telling me to do now?
There you go.
Broadcast or get out around town and around the country and around
You
the
don't
world
need
if
too much
possible.
fire, but
Right.
It's just you can do some low power stuff.
so let's talk about ham radio
Yeah.
in general, just because a lot of people may not know what it is.
Okay.
It is not, believe it or not, it is not a dying hobby or dying art like a lot of people
Not in the least.
have commented on. Just checking the recent statistics, I guess in North America we've got somewhere around 850,000 to 900,000 people, and worldwide about 3 million. So
It is. I think it's growing, don't you think?
I think quite likely it is now with the different technology, and ham radio is a lot of things to different people. First, it started off, the main purpose was to experiment and of course to work on the art of radio transmitting and stuff. But it's been used for particularly used for health and welfare emergencies, or just sometimes talking around the world, just making friends. So there's a lot of different aspects about it, and we want to try to cover some of those things. But I know you're a very recent ham, so tell us about how you first got your license. What did it take, and where did you first get your information, and how? Because amateur radio or ham radio is you do have to pass a license. Have to pass a test, and there are 3 different types of licenses now. They're technician, the general, and the extra, but with different amounts of technical information required. So at least tell us about where you got started, and we'll go from there.
Well, I did the got a little audio. There we go. Okay. I'm here audio and my mind stops and says, wait, what was that? Thank you, Mike. So I decided to take a kind of a multi-pronged approach to studying, which is how I learn. I don't learn all that well from just read one thing and you're done. Take one course and you're done. I attack things from different angles, and it sinks in a little bit here, a little bit there. So I tell people that my main study tool for ham radio started around December of 2024. I was out in Texas visiting a very good friend of mine out there, and I had some free time, and I grabbed my phone, went to YouTube, and went to YouTube to a kind of did some searches and just simply said studying for my technician license, and found some
great
really
info
great
out there now.
resources. There's some good stuff. There was some stuff that I really was able to dial into. There's I have to give him credit. There's a gentleman named Gary Wise, W4EEY is Gary's call, and I only call that out because one of the best people I've ever heard teach. He was so kind about how he taught, but it still involved 10 different YouTube videos of 2 hours each. So there was some time involved in that, 20 hours. Took it in a little bit at a time, just a little bit here and a little bit there, and found some apps that were available through my iPhone. I started taking some practice tests through those, began to build a little self-confidence, because when you first start taking the test on your phone, you're going to flunk them. You flunk them all. And you think, boy, I needed 74%, but I got 31%. I think I'm pretty far off. But then you build the confidence as your practice test numbers get a little higher. And eventually you're in the 80s and 90s, and you smile and you say, I'm ready to do this thing.
And the beautiful thing is that now we have local clubs. Most every metropolitan area's got a local club. If you Google it, you can put in amateur radio and the name of your town. Like here, I might put in Orlando Amateur Radio Club, and
Sure.
several things will pop up, and you can reach out, and almost any of these clubs are going to be happy to help you along the way and get you started. Quite often, they've got classes, free classes, and that's another good way of starting where you don't have to do it all yourself. Or
I actually used my local club here at Jacksonville Beach, Beach's Amateur Radio Society. And I laugh and think, well, I'm going to hang out any place that calls themselves bars. So why not? And of course, in their case, I'm sure it's sandbars naturally. And
sure.
so, yeah, no problem with that idea. So I met some folks at that club, had already known some through an antique radio club I'd been a member of for years. I was the only non-ham member of the club, and I was always the outcast there. So I went out to the Hamage Radio Club meeting, went to one meeting, felt good about the guys, went to the second meeting the next month, and they looked at me and they said, "We hope you brought your laptop because you're taking your test tonight." And I had a little idea about it in advance. I said, "I have my laptop, but I don't feel good about this test." So they set me down and we hooked me up to a testing site. I went through 35 questions and I couldn't believe it. I passed, and they came in slapping me on the back and everybody was smiling. And there we go. March 1st of last year, that's when the FCC said, yeah, these guys told me you passed your test. So
beautiful.
It's I have to tell you, it was a lot of prep work and study, but it never felt hard. It never felt arduous, for picking out a big word there. It just felt like a goal I had wanted to accomplish for a long, long, long time. And fast forward to a different group called Handiham, HANDIHAM. Handiham is a nonprofit group that helps disabled people, which includes mostly blinds, about 70%, access the hobby of ham radio. They're out of Minnesota. They've been around since, I think, 1968.
Yep, definitely in the late 60s.
Yeah, 60. Yeah, I think they're in their 59th year this year.
Great organization for sure.
I'll tell you that.
There's DI, right? HANDI.
And DIHAM, handy. As in, I mean, somebody back then thought handicap was a cool word.
Right.
And in September, I was at a radio, kind of a camp they do every single year for a week. A lot of fun. And I sat down and took my test for my general, feeling even less sure than I was with my tech license. And trying to remember if I took it twice that day. I think I just took it once, and I knew I had flunked it. But I had somebody who was reading me the questions. It was very kind that she sat down and just read me the questions and wrote the answers down. She was one of the testers. And she walked away to have the test graded, and I was in a room with a couple of other people taking the test. I had already made up my mind. Well, this didn't happen, but lunch is coming soon, so life is still good. And she came over and whispered in my ear, "You passed." And I stared at her and I said, "You're kidding." So it turned out to be a great day. I got one more step to go, right, Dave? Extra.
There you go.
It's not required. Nobody makes you do it.
No,
but
not at all.
I see it as the top of a mountain. And what I really learned about some of the best teachers I had was when you take the test and you pass things, you pass a license 1, 2, 3. All you've done is gotten a license to learn more, because you'll never stop learning the hobby.
Very
Matter
true.
of fact, I wanted to say sorry to you that I hadn't got a hold of you over the week, but I was actually in a class Saturday here for my local chapter. We call it the Daytona Beach Amateur Radio Association, DBARA. And so we had 1 hour of technician, 1 hour of general, 1 hour of amateur extra. Those are your 3 classes or licensing you could get. And I, matter of fact, got mine last November. And because of the
Yes, you
government
did.
shutdown, we had to kind of wait on, I guess, for the FCC to open up. But what you said to me just now, it's a learning ability that you turn on in your brain. You're just studying question pools. It's not that you have to, do crazy math if you're not a math person, but just knowing the formulas, how they work, is important.
And what license you get will determine basically the different frequencies you're allowed to operate, and
Yes.
that might determine where you might be able to talk to around the country. So after some brief messages, we're going to talk to you and talk to the listeners about what's required to get on the air, the different types of ham radio, because we can talk to other people around the world with a microphone, or using a computer, or what my favorite, Morse code, which can be very beneficial. So we talk about those things, and talk about how you don't have to be wealthy to buy a ham radio. In fact, I've got one here that I'll be showing off in a minute, that you can pick up for about $30 and be able to talk to someone around the world. So it's pretty amazing. And also got a couple brief little transmissions of people I talked to in Europe this morning, that to give you whet your appetite a little bit for the possibilities of what you can do once you get your license. So we'll be back momentarily. Don't go anywhere. Grab a cup of coffee, and we will be right back.
Dogs for the Blind believes everyone deserves to live the life they want to live and to move through the world safely and confidently. That's why we offer a variety of programs at no cost to our clients. We match people who are blind or visually impaired in the U.S. and Canada with exceptional guide dogs. Guide Dogs for the Blind also provides a free orientation and mobility immersion program for people interested in learning the skills relevant to guide dog mobility. And our K9 Buddy program matches select dogs who are not suited to be guide dogs to be pets for people who are blind or visually impaired, including children and their families and adults of all ages. All of this is made possible by our generous donors and the help of thousands of incredible volunteers. To learn more about our life-changing mission, please visit guidedogs.com or call 800-295-4050.
There's so many days where I just want to pretend I'm not going blind, and I can't. With retinitis pigmentosa, the unknown is everlasting. What I want most is to stop this in its tracks. It all really boils down to my family, seeing my beautiful wife, seeing my kids. If only I could have more time. My hope here with the Foundation Fighting Blindness is to drive towards a cure. Donate now or get involved at fightingblindness.org.
Figuring out what comes next can feel uncertain, especially for teens and young adults who are blind or have low vision. At New View, Oklahoma, our Navigate Transition program helps young people move confidently into the next chapter after high school, whether college, career, or both. Navigate builds independence, skills, and self-confidence for what comes next. Through this immersive 2-week experience, young adults learn alongside peers while practicing real-world skills like financial management, meal preparation, assistive technology, orientation and mobility, and navigating the community. Participants also explore careers, build resumes, practice interviews, connect with professionals, and experience job shadows. Spots are limited and the program is offered at no cost. Learn more at newviewoklahoma.org. That's newviewoklahoma.org.
We are back.
Hey, Dave. is
He's
that you
laying
playing?
down there, Hershey.
Yeah, is that Dave playing? Okay. I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's putting this acoustic guitar player to shame.
That's it. Let him breathe. Let him breathe, boys. Let him breathe.
That's where the beyond part comes in.
Matter of fact, welcome back, everybody. And we have our good friend here, Russ Davis. And I got my co-host, Dave Hillibbrandt. And, you know, as we're talking, we're just listening to music. Russ, what's your favorite type of music?
Actually, I am an acoustic folk kind of guy. I was probably born 25 years too late. I should have been running around the coffee houses of Harvard and New York City back in the late 50s and hanging out with Dylan and Baez. And
It's never
people
too
like that.
late. It's
Well,
all coming back,
it's true.
my friend.
Yeah, well, for a few of them, it's too late. But
Right. True. There is that point.
Just a certain couple, you know. But so we've talked about the different transitions in your life, but you mentioned one thing to me earlier in the first segment is there was some kind of switch in your vision that pushed you away from work, or I guess being part of Division of Blind Services. Is that what you were? Or
well, I worked for the Florida Department of Revenue for most of my career. Yeah.
Okay,
and
so for
I never actually worked for DBS. I worked with DBS and had counselors and
right.
that sort of thing. And I think, oh, you're going to drag this out of me, aren't you? Because this is it's a good thing.
How do we, you know, we have these traversities in life,
Yeah.
and sometimes we get like, why did he had a job, he was working, why did he quit?
So I really have never been shy about telling this story, and I'm not the most religious guy that's ever walked the face of Florida, but there are times I will talk about faith a little bit, and that
Yeah,
God does talk
carry
to
on.
me.
Yeah.
And I struggled with a lot of issues. Tough things were happening in my life back around 13, 14, 15, a few pretty rough years.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy stuff was happening personally, professionally, psychologically. The vision's going, so it's tough.
No doubt.
And at work, it became harder and harder and harder to try to magnify that screen bigger and bigger and bigger. And I wasn't getting the training I needed. I wasn't getting the technology that I needed to know what to do. And it was around the summer of 2015 that I said, it was in August. I sat at my desk one day in my office, and I was typing away on the computer, doing my work as best I could, and thinking about my future, and a voice, and I want to say literally, because it was a literal voice that I heard.
Yes.
And it just announced in this empty office with me, you know, it's time to go. And I sort of froze, because you can't mistake the voice you hear. You know?
There is that saying, you'll know when it's time. Well, when you got a voice telling you definitely know it's time.
I looked at the ceiling, because that's probably the best direction to look up, right? Said, I know. And it repeated itself and said, you know that it's time to go. And I have no issues with telling you that, boy, the tears started, and it felt like somebody popped a balloon of all the stress and the difficulties. I had a coworker walk in my office right about that moment, and she said, are you okay? And I waved, closed the door. And I said, I'm out of here. What do you mean? Going to the beach? I said, no, I'm out of here forever.
Yeah.
She called another friend and said, you tell her what you just told me. And it's one of my favorite stories in life because it spoke about a transition, about a break from one life to the next. I do
Change.
look back at my job and I miss that I was helping people, but I've dedicated myself for the past now 11 years almost to being here for others and serving basically a life of service. Um, the ham radio stuff, it didn't feel like a life of service a year ago, but now when I do things like hold Zoom calls to introduce blind people to ham radio who don't know about it, and I have really awesome guests come in and help me host, like the two of you last Thursday. Thank you both.
Not a problem. Thank
Um,
you. It was wonderful.
then I feel like, okay, now in this area of my life, I'm giving back. I'm helping hopefully lift people up.
Well,
So
and
that's kind of what I do almost every day of my life. I try to, no matter
well,
what it
and the
is.
hobby truly is a great deal of service involved because not only is it's fun to talk to people around the world, but it's especially famous for when there's some terrible cataclysmic thing like a hurricane or earthquakes and stuff. The ham radio operators are the first ones there to communicate, and quite often when there's no power or maybe no cell phones, when you're off the grid and when things are really rough, ham radio is there to be able to offer a service and of course even helping out with parades for communication and things like that. There's we're constantly volunteering to do service related stuff.
Yeah, and before we get into the tech part of it, Dave,
Sure.
I want to make sure we don't miss the time and the opportunity to get back to what I was mentioning a minute ago, and that is, and I know you both are smiling when I'm going to say this, that ham radio is not a pastime. It's not an avocation or a hobby that's out of the reach of people who are blind or low vision. And a lot of folks who are blind and low vision probably wouldn't consider that the hobby is accessible to them. It's available to them, and it absolutely is. And that's one of my favorite things I think that I'm getting into is, yeah, it's fun to play with the radios. I'm having a great time with all that and helping out with turkey trots. I did a turkey trot in around Thanksgiving. I didn't run it, but I helped work it.
Nice.
Yeah. And you're right about the emergencies are amazing and they are life changing. But if we can tell people out there who are blind or low vision that this is a hobby that has so much to it and so much joy to it, and being blind doesn't keep you out of it.
And
Maybe that's something they need to hear.
one glimmer that I would actually want to take from that story there, I'm grateful that you invited us at Rise and Shine to be part of that to be amongst a group of people. So we mentioned Handy Ham, Handi ham. Was that with an S at the end?
No, it's not. Handyham.org would be their
.org.
website. So,
And then
yeah.
there's Blind Hams. I remember hearing something like that of a group. And then
Blindhams.com. That's a good one.
Blindhams.com.
And a lot of
for
good
chat.
resources on there.
And then I heard something about CQ podcast, was it, or something?
Joel Case, who is in South Carolina, he's a blind gentleman. He used to
Okay.
run vending stands out of Tennessee, and he now lives in South Carolina.
Very
He's
smart
one
guy.
of my, here's the word, right? Elmers. Those are you don't have to be older than somebody to be their Elmer. If
This
you're
is the song,
if you're
Elmo
inspiring
song.
them.
Oh, wait, you said Elmer.
No,
not
that's
Elmo.
Elmo. You're thinking of
Sorry,
Sesame Street.
my bad.
Someone that helps you along, points you in the right direction, and leads
Yeah.
you the way, so to speak.
So Joel is one of mine, and he has hosted a lot of the Blind Ham CQ podcasts. And there's just back to that thing with YouTube. If you can search YouTube, search podcast, you can go to Bard and download books. I'll tell you that they're not all that current. I'm only saying that, hoping that somebody at the NLS
You know
is
what? When you
listening.
said that last time, why don't we request, the new
We
Gordon
need to
West
do it.
books?
It's one of those
Yep.
to-do projects, right? But
The trouble
but
is, you
the
only have a
information's still
couple
good.
years though before they
Yeah,
switch to
yeah.
new questions. So it is kind of a timely thing that has to be ran
But
out pretty quickly.
it's interesting. You can read something from literally from the 1970s and still learn from it, even today.
True.
Because you can learn all
Agreed.
this about the electronics that you don't understand if you've never been dabbled in it.
But technology does move on, and certainly
Doesn't it
when you're
though?
doing the testing, I have my extra class license, and I've been a ham for I had a ham license for over 50 years. But
Aren't you glad you don't have to study for it now?
well, that's the thing. I've done some studying just to try to help others, and it is amazing. Some of the information that's covered now is a lot different than when I took my test, and vice versa. So, just like we were saying that basically,
Sorry, excuse me. Sorry about that.
certainly being blind does not stop you from being able to get your license, but also it doesn't stop you from being able to use the equipment. And we know as being blind people, sometimes things like the oven, your stove, your washing machine may not be especially accessible, but most or many ham radios are accessible. Again, ham radio versus amateur radio, they're intertwined, the same
Well,
same
gentlemen,
thing.
I have a problem here, gentlemen. See, I have a radio here in my hand, but it only says
4,
a couple numbers,
5,
and those are just
4, 3.
that's all I hear.
Yeah, you have to, and it has to be programmed a certain way. But here I've got a radio in my hand right now, which I'm gonna do a quick demonstration. This is a cheap Chinese radio that I picked up for I think $30, and nowadays it's possible to be able to get an accessible radio with the ability of actually talking to people around the world. I'm going to just toss something out here and see if I can get a response, but it's taking a chance. But let's see.
Yeah,
here.
there you go. This is when it gets a little dicey.
Exactly. If someone's actually going to be waiting there. This is W4CI, W4 Charlie India in Orlando, Florida, demonstrating ham radio. Could someone come in with your call and your location so that some potential hams can hear what ham radio is possible? This is W4CI. If you could come up with your call and your location. Let's see if we...
Fantastic. We'll find out.
Charlie in northwestern Vermont. Mary Sugar. KA3BMS near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. KE2ELI, Rochester, New York. Alpha Charlie 8, Whiskey Sierra, Toledo, Ohio.
Hold up. So we just went to Ohio.
Guys, thank you
we
so
just
much
went
for
to New
that.
York. We just
a perfect example of what can be done with relatively a small handheld unit, battery powered. You're totally off the grid, except for you're communicating through what's called a repeater, which makes the small signal a little bit stronger. So that even with your first class of license, the technician, and with a very small amount of investment, maybe $35, you can talk to people all over the world, literally.
Hey, Dave, just one quick thank you to you. You actually took the time to teach me, so I would call you my Elmer in a way. But you used a certain app, and Russ also used a similar app. So if you gentlemen could repeat, what did you use for study material?
Help me, Russ, because I can't think of what it's called myself.
Well, there was it's a free app, and there are numerous ones out there. You need to search your app store, for example, if you use an iOS device, and just put in amateur radio technician, and you'll find study courses. Hamstudy.com is one of them. Ham Prep is a big one that's very popular. I used one. I just like the style of it. called Hamtech, Hamtech.
I think that's
And
the one I
Hamtech
have.
just felt right to me. It was easy to navigate. They'd worked hard to make it accessible, and it gave me multiple. Basically, you kind of just keep churning through the questions. You'll say, "Give me a new test," and it'll come up with 35 new questions. They're from different segments of the testing material, like chapters 1 through 10. You don't get them all from one chapter. You'll get some on safety, you get some on procedure, you get some on the technical part, you get
Mix
some.
them up a little bit.
Yeah, so there's a little of each.
Right.
And I just kept hammering away at that one, pardon the pun, until I felt confident. And I think just before I went to take my exam, I looked at it one more time that afternoon and saw one question that I did not know the answer to. When you're at home and you've got your devices around you, like your smart speaker, you're allowed to cheat. You're allowed to say, "I need to know the answer." There was that one question I had never heard. Learned the answer. I got to my testing session, and out of the 300 and something questions in the pool, that was one of the 35. So
there you go.
One thing to note on
Yes, sir.
that is, like, the Hamtech is the same one Dave also had installed on his iOS device.
Yeah.
There was one for $399, but again, it's the accessibility, running it into flashcards. Ham Radio Prep is another one that Russ was just mentioning. So just for Mike, who's probably dropping the links down there, just if anyone's interested. Through our chapter here locally, which is the Dabara group, if you put in capital DBARA, there is a 20% discount on Ham Radio Prep. So it costs you like $25 to get either, let's say, technician, general, or amateur extra, depending on what license you're going for. But those are just a few of the study materials. But then there's also books such as Gordon West, who has written some amazing books. And some of them may or may not be accessible. It just depends, meaning that finding alternative texts such as ebooks of the book, or perhaps if you are part of your local clubs and such, if you find out, like Dave lives in the Central Florida area, Russ is in he's in Jacksonville, so North Florida. I'm in I'm still Central Florida, but our club may have resources. So if you are really interested in getting your call sign, the only cost it will cost you, technically speaking, is $35 to the FCC, which is the Federal Communication Commission, here in the United States at least. For Canada and other countries, you must check with your laws and regulatories with how to get your call sign. But this is an activity, again, for international usage. Once you get to a certain level, or you're using a certain type of piece of hardware, like they call it DMR, digital mobile radio, so that way you are using internet to connect to the people rather than airwave signals, that is electromagnetic radio waves.
So obviously lots of different aspects of ham radio, and you can reach out to your local ham organization, your local radio club, or don't forget blindhams.com and or the handyhams.org. So if you guys would be so kind to humor me, I wanted to play you a little blip from a conversation. The thing that I'm into with ham radio, besides Morse code, is talking on the HF frequencies, which is like the shortwave.
What is HF, guys? I mean, you guys keep saying letters here, dude.
High frequencies, and which, like I say, is basically in the shortwave range of frequencies. And so I like to talk to people all over the world, which is a lot of fun without the help of the internet or anything, essentially setting up an antenna with relatively low power and talking to someone. And I literally have made friends all over the world and had a chance to even meet some of them. So here's one right offhand. I've got two very short blips of conversations, but give you an idea of what we might talk about.
Okay there, Dave, no problems at all. Whiskey 4, Charlie India. Mike Whiskey 0, Juliet Kilo Uniform. Operator this side is Chris there, Dave, and you've got a nice signal coming into Wales. You're about a 5 and 7 57, so doing very nice there on your output power. My QTH this side, I'm 20 miles northeast of Cardiff, the capital of Wales, in a small market town there, Dave. WX here in Wales, we've got an overcast day today, and it's raining intermittently, but nice to work in. Working station this side, FDDX 101 MP by Yasuf, running 800 watts into the XR3. Yagi by Invo antennas there in your direction there, David. Whiskey 4 Charlie India from Mike Whiskey 0 Juliet Kilo Uniform in Wales.
So there's gives you a general idea, and of course we typically don't talk about politics, but there are a number of people that it'll still come up because there's a lot of different cultural differences between, let's say, here in Europe or Asia. So we can get into some interesting conversations. And one other one, real quick blast, I'll play a little something from a gentleman I talked to in Finland this morning that told him that I was going to be talking to some folks on YouTube. And so he had a message for us.
Wow. Okay.
W4CI in Florida, Oscar Hotel 6 Radio Mike, Center for Finland. Coming back, thanks a lot, Dave. You're doing very well with 50 watts into that hex beam. I copy you really 59 plus the most of time. And there are millions of stations giving me calls on the frequency. I'm quite amazed. Just an ordinary station here in Finland.
So there you go. It gives you a general idea. And I literally have talked to people, even in Russia, Ukraine, all over the world, pretty much 24 hours a day.
Hey,
so
Dave,
it's pretty fun.
if we can go to the Voice of Reason, he has actually a website for us for our Canadian friends. So if you wouldn't mind, Mike, what is that website for our Canadian friends if they're interested?
Of course, it is www.rac.ca. Radio Amateurs Canada.
Canada.ca is Canada. Yep.
.ca is Canada.
And they're a very, very active group of folks up there, and they quite often have contests where people all over the world try to contact folks up there in Canada. So
you
neat.
both were hitting a really important point that we chatted with about last Thursday on the Sunrise and Shine with NFB Newsline. Sorry, needed to throw in that free plug there, Mike.
Please.
And that's a call we do twice a month on Zoom, and I'd love to have more attendees on that. We've been doing that now for 2020. So somebody tell me how the math works there. April of 2020. Does that mean 6 years?
Slow it down real quick. So if they want to join this call, where do they go? How do they find it?
Well, they're going to contact me, and they're
Hi,
welcome
me.
to do
What's
that.
going on, me?
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm kidding.
they're going to contact Russ. I have never had an issue with releasing my email address, and Mike could even put it in the chat. So Russell at RadioRusty.com, RUSSELL, Russell at RadioRusty.com. Send me
But
a
he's
note.
not rusty anymore. He's got it down pat.
I fought over that. I almost flipped the words in that domain name, but one night I just pulled the trigger on Radio Rusty and moved forward, and that was 23 years ago.
It sounds good, I think. I'm fully
it
Awesome,
flows. So, but we talked about this on the Sunrise and Shine with NFB Newsline Zoom call, and you just mentioned it a few minutes ago, Hershey. You just mentioned it, Dave. It's really, sure, the tech stuff is awesome, and all the lingo and the terms and the technical part. It's all about people. It really, if it's not about people, I don't see the point for me.
I agree.
And I truly believe I have made friends. I'm going to be, I didn't know you guys really before Ham Radio came along. I knew Hershey a little bit, but I had not met Dave until last summer, late in the summer, early in the fall, when we talked about doing a workshop. And somebody said, "Hey, I know this guy's, that's a ham radio operator in Orlando." And I said, "Well, give me his number." We chatted, and then we had 34 people on the call Thursday, and about 13 or 14 of them, maybe more, were blind amateurs from around the country And in 1 year, I've gotten to know in one way or another every one of those guys and gals. There were some ladies on there as well. That was pretty neat, wasn't it? We had some,
Absolutely, yeah.
we had some ladies on the call.
Rachel, I believe it
So
was, and
And the thing to know is that being a blind ham or blind amateur radio operator is not super unique. We are certainly in the minority, but we are not a rare species these days. There are a lot of blind hams and a number of blind organizations. So you know, a lot of folks are sighted, majority of course, but they're happy to help us along, and typically there's blind hams can do most anything that the sighted hams can do, and there's a lot of different aspects of ham radio. So a lot of stuff we can get into, and plenty of people to encourage you along the way. That's for sure.
absolutely. There's a lot of folks out there who were, it's a community that I mentioned it the other day, that there are hobbies out there in the world. There are pastimes that people get into where you have to kick the door down to get in, because the people currently involved in it don't necessarily want more people in that hobby. I mean,
They're competing kind of.
I have found none of that in amateur radio, and that's kind of amazed me. Nobody has ever tried to dissuade me from getting on the air, from learning more,
want
from
you to
talking
join.
to them, to whether it's more equipment. You know, you got to be careful about radios. I've been told this story that if you take 2 handheld radios and you lay them on a desk, they actually make babies. It's kind of a
They can
crazy
multiply
thing.
quickly.
Yes.
We say figuratively, but it does seem that way sometimes.
It does. It's right.
You want to have a backup to the backup and that kind of thing. But it
well,
really
you know,
does come down to the people and the friends you make. And I know I've actually gone to other countries and folks that I've had a chance to actually shake hands with and have a beer with when I went to England a number of years ago, and chance to meet a lot of folks that I'd been talking to for years. So
I travel around the country a pretty good bit. I seem to always be jumping on an airplane or a train or a bus or going somewhere. I've got I just checked yesterday, looking at my schedule for 2026, and I think I'm gone for probably at least 4 months out of the year. I won't be at home because I'm traveling, but I'll have my radio with me. And if I'm in Texas, I know the guys in the local club. I'm going to the Indy 500 in May.
Fantastic.
I've got a
There you
brother
go.
who's an extra class ham. He'll be bringing his radio. I've got mine. And so it's an exciting year, and I'm taking the radios with me. They're always we didn't talk about the free part, right? That you can actually,
Go for it.
a technician can actually operate, that can actually connect with other hams through networks, bridges, those kind of things they call them, with your iPhone or your Android phone for free. You can actually connect for no cost. And the interesting thing is that unless you're a ham, you won't talk to those people. So I have built communities with the Handy Ham group and the Blind Hams group because of free apps on the iPhone.
right, if
amazing.
you don't actually have a radio, you literally can talk to other hams with your cell phone by going through different
I do it
systems.
every
So-
single day. Yep.
Main thing is just to be legitimate, to have your call sign. A call sign, as we discussed with the letters and the Whiskey Charlie and this and that, those are all call signs that you're
It's
hearing.
licensed through the FCC, something you actually have
Federal
to have in order to.
Communications
And some
to
of
get
those
your-
apps will actually require you to certify and verify that you do have a license. They'll have you send a copy of your license through an email so they can look at it and say, okay, he's really who he says he is.
So, is there any one message you might want to pass along to the listeners? Any words of wisdom? Because we'd love to have you back on again for more specific parts of ham radio, but we are going to
Any
need
part
to
of
close
life. I
here
mean,
shortly.
you're a wealth
so.
of information. So
Yeah, now if you got one thing you want to share with everybody, I'd love to.
I would say
have you do it.
we put it together, and we've already done it, but we'll put it together and say that amateur radio is about people, and it is not beyond blindness. It is certainly available to anybody who's blind or low vision. You just have to decide that it's a hobby. You want to give it a shot.
And if you need help, you can certainly reach out to myself or Hershey through the
Blind and Beyond show at gmail.com email address.
right, or right here on the YouTube show. You're certainly
Drop a
welcome
comment.
to type in some comments, and we will certainly help point you in the right direction, because we'd love to have you in the hobby as well. So, Russ,
I think
I
we're
really
going to go
can't.
ahead and do another workshop in October at the NFP of Florida State Convention. What do y'all think? Should we do it?
There you
Sounds like an idea to me.
All right,
And
I got 2 volunteers. Thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely. And Russ, like I said, if we've left anything behind, please let us know how else we can help you. So thank you so much for taking the time for what you've done today.
Appreciate you guys having me on. I had a great time.
Thank you.
Let's do it again sometime, and certainly we'll catch you on the air too.
All right, let's enjoy some guitar, right, Hershey?
Hey, Dave, you mind? What's your genre? You got like a folk? You got a little folkiness you could add to that?
We'll see.
I'm always demanding. I'm sorry. I know I'm that guy. But Dave, I thank you. Russ, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And of course, Mike, RTD, thank you, man, for what you do.
Come on it, boys. Open it up, Dave.
Be right back.
Let's go.
Blind and Beyond.
Blind and Beyond.
It's the Blind and Beyond Show.
With Harshid
and Dave Hillibbrandt.
They'll be talking to all kinds of interesting people in the blindness community and beyond. I wonder where they could be. Let's check on them now.
Ouch, that hurt. My folks, it was great talking to Russ, and of course Dave Schleppenbach the first hour, and great talking to my buddy Hershey today.
Hey, Dave, it's been a pleasure to have you on board, man. Everything is being copacetic and behaving, because sometimes with these technical things, the laptop gets overheated, and this. But today, phew. Sorry for the link, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I know that we had a link out there for people, but you are most welcome to find the share link now by going to the YouTube channel. If you want to find our YouTube channel, you would go to YouTube, type in Blind and A&D Beyond Show. Once you do that, go to the channel, and then you'll find playlists. You'll find even live as a tab. If you click on those tabs, you could now watch this episode and share it amongst your friends. I'm just mind blown from the last episode. Thank you so much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. And
we're working on it, right?
Yeah, trying to bring you some useful, good content and something that you all want. So if you also want to be on the show, please do reach out. blindandbeyondshow@gmail.com. And again, I also want to say a big thank you to Mike Latta, our technical director from Crosstrack. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Because if you also use this thing called Zoom, by the way, he is a Zoom community champion as well. So if you haven't checked out, go ahead and check out the Zoom Test Kitchen every Friday. You'll see Mike and others, John Drinkwater and other people. They talk about some amazing tools. And I'm just so grateful that we have the tools like Zoom to come back to you guys. And Dave, we remember we talked about before the show started. You said that you had some news. you got some things you're allowed to share. You want to talk about that real quick?
Real quick, I will.
How quick is it?
Well, we were going to. We were hoping to have a good friend, Greg Lindberg, which he'll be showing up here in the next week or two, hopefully for an interview. But he and I, along with a couple other folks, demoed the autonomous vehicle Waymo here in Orlando, and it was a lot of fun. I can't say enough good things about Waymo, and it's an amazing new technology. It's now in I forget how many areas here in the country, but they've just recently opened up a couple different places in Florida and in Texas, and literally a vehicle with no driver. Mine was a Jaguar, I believe it was called an I something or other. I forget. I have to do some checking, but anyway, certainly a shout out to the Waymo folks. And
So, Dave, whereabouts were you? That was it like, I don't know, where the Magic Arena is, or like downtown Orlando? Where were you?
basically downtown Orlando, and we were demoed. A nice young lady named Hannah hooked us up with the vehicle. She called on her app. It's all app driven with an iPhone, or I imagine Android as well.
You know what? I'm gonna go download the. Sorry, I'm not trying to pay attention to you. I'm listening to you, ladies and gentlemen. In case if you're like, hey, he's not being. I am, but you have to download the app from your Play Store or iOS App Store.
You do, and then
Okay.
then you set it up just like you would with Uber or Lyft, with a form of payment. This Waymo is not in every area of Orlando, so at the moment I'm just north of Orlando, and I'm just out of the area. But there, as they map the various specific areas in Orlando and other parts of the country, they keep on adding territories. So they'll be up here before long. And like I say, I can't say enough good things about them. And
So for Florida, Miami's up and running,
Miami is up and running.
and Orlando is up and running.
Yes, most of Orlando is up and
And in
running.
Tampa?
I believe that they are coming to Tampa soon. I don't know
Okay.
I know that they have had test vehicles
Hey Dave,
there.
my you see some of my friends are cool friends, man, but they bring guide dogs with them. Is that cool?
It is perfectly cool, and that's another beautiful thing about Waymo. You don't have to worry about someone from Uber or Lyft giving you a hard time saying, "Oh, I don't know about carrying a dog," which they have to do, but they have to allow a rider and their guide dog. But there are people. We've certainly heard many horror stories where Uber and Lyft, for whatever reason, do not pick up people with dogs. So this is not going to be an issue with Waymo. With
Yeah,
that
it's hard-
technology, they're welcoming, and every people with guide dogs certainly welcome, no problem.
Yeah, to our audience out there, if they're wondering, Greg, keep saying Greg, but it's Greg Lindberg. I hope you feel better, buddy. And he's had his issues even in the beginning of the year, and whenever he comes on board here, once he gets a little bit better, we'll definitely reach more deeper into that cookie jar of stories, because I've known when I lived in Orlando to see a little child seriously freaked out because the driver basically said no, and they had a guide dog, and
Right.
they were actually in a summer program over at Lighthouse Central Florida Lighthouse Works, and just hey, I'm not going to be able to go home, having that flight kind of feeling, and it's not fair. And sometimes even I've gone through that situation where the Uber app's like, oh well, I'm not going to take your money anymore, and you feel almost like a panic moment of I'm stranded.
Right,
But
and these a lot of times are people that are very capable and are used to traveling independently, and then
Right.
Uber or Lyft throws them a left hook, and it's not right, and it's illegal. But they found little loopholes, and like I say, with
Sure.
Waymo, that's not going to be an issue. So
You know what? Let's go to the comments here real quick. I think we might actually have something. Let's find out. Knock, knock, knock. Mike, the voice of reason.
Voice of reason is coming in. Look out. I have a comment from Newer Ham Radio Elmer. Says, I teach ham radio for the blind. And by the way, JAWS is almost outdated, but I can see.
Ah, very good. Well, he has some good points. JAWS does have some limitations. Price is one of them, and there are alternatives, but JAWS is still a great help, and certainly.
And good point to bring in, because there are some scripts, like a gentleman named Doug Lee has made some scripts that will allow you to interact with systems such as, I believe it's RT Systems. I don't know if you are familiar with that name, Dave.
Right. Yep. RT
and
Systems.
There is a plugin called GD77, which I heard. I'm trying to bring in the information of the past, but I think he used to be with Vispero, or
It allows
still is.
mainstream radios to be able to talk. Is essentially what that software is designed for. So a lot of mainstream ham radios that may not come with the ability to speak or give you some kind of audible cues. This software that's free enables a lot of radios to be accessible. So very, very helpful for sure.
All right. And also the Newer Ham Radio Elmer is complimenting Mr. Hershey's nice RE mic there, sir.
Thank you so much for your compliments.
Good choice
Pleasure.
there, yeah.
Thank you for joining us, and really, really, again, this is excitement from the chat that I get. It's we're really talking to human beings out there, so thank you so much for your compliment.
It's true. We appreciate everybody being here, and we're also going to give a quick rundown of what you might have missed on the Blind and Beyond radio show from last night. So we're going to jump into that.
If you have some sight loss and other things, this conversation is going to be really interesting to you, but think about cable TV and your internet, just saying.
There you go. There's lots of good stuff in that coming up from last night's show on the radio, but we really appreciate you being here. Be sure to, of course, like, share, and subscribe, right? And we will be back next week with some really interesting guests once again, and we do thank Dave so much and Russ for joining us, and especially you and you
over there,
way in the back there. We
hey,
appreciate
Dave,
you
one more
listening.
thing. Let's go ahead and just run down through the websites just from kind of the top, if anyone missed anything. So off the top, www.gotouchable.com. That will give you more information about the Cadence Tablet that Dave Schleppenbach, the CEO. Dave Schleppenbach's name is DaveSchleppenbach.
Wow, you did good.
It's a good name to know. Perhaps if your organization wants to work with him, he's so open to work with the community, and that's what I really value in these two guests that we had today.
Great passion, for sure.
Russ Davis, so much passion in the community of NFB, but then again, it doesn't matter what organization you really belong to. As we found out with ham radio, we're all a big family as it is. So Handy Ham, HANDI ham.org, then Blind Hams, or ham.com.
Right.
And
right.
Let's see, what else did we have? Then if you look up CQ Podcast, again, Joel, he's from South Carolina, just amazing sound. That he might have a better mic than me, I don't know, but
CQ Blind Hams is what you want to look up for.
CQ Blind Hams.
Yes, and I think that Mike has something for us before
Yeah, Mike.
Go. What you say, Mike?
All right, so our friend Newer Ham Radio Elmer has given us another comment. He says, what's cool is kids with no vision can feel Morse code.
Thank you for actually bringing that up. You know what? I heard a story about that to the person there. In Long Island, I want to say, or was it Staten Island or Long Island, or Dave? We were there together, but there's actually haptics now on certain equipment. So if you are a deaf-blind user, you actually might be able to feel the haptics of the dits and dots in CW.
And that's
Have
where
you-
Morse code could really come in handy, where you might not be able to speak to someone with the microphone, but
because
you could certainly
CW is continuous wave, otherwise known as
the Morse code. So that is very, very true. There are new radio Elmer, or whatever
Yeah,
your name
Newer
is.
Ham Radio Elmer. Yeah,
Yeah.
he says 100%. Thanks for doing that, is what he's saying too.
So no, thank you. And by the way, we do intend to bring up different aspects of ham radio, since it is so wide open with different types of communication, that we're going to cover different parts of that as we
You know
go
what?
along.
Let me get a quick story in real quick, guys. So this guy next to me here, this guy named Dave Hillibbrandt, right? So he actually got his first call sign when he was actually 10 years old. Yeah, 10 years old.
True. So it just shows you, if I could do it, anybody.
And again, you were
I'm not so
blind from
smart
young, right?
sometimes,
You were blind from young age?
Yep. I was blind. I could see a very tiny bit up until I was about 10 or 11, but generally, certainly legally blind. And I got into ham radio because of Morse code. A neighbor taught it to me just for fun, not to learn as a goal for a license, but just as a game. And so we'd
Dave,
send jokes back and forth.
But is it possible you got a screen reader, you're doing a ham thing, like, what about screen readers? Are you ready for using a Mac computer, or do you use a Windows computer? What do you use?
I use a Windows computer, but for ham radio, you don't have to have a computer at all. That's the beautiful thing about it. You certainly can use a computer, and a lot of people like to log their conversations so they can remember who they've contacted over time. But you can even log on paper. I used to have a Braille log for a long time. So a computer is not necessary, though helpful. And I've certainly know some folks blinded and sighted who do not have computers. So.
Well, if we want to take a few more comments from the chat here, but I also want to, while I say that, to say thank you to Kelly James for your participation and contributions tonight. It's a pleasure to hear from you. And
Thank you, Kelly.
You know, maybe we'll have Kelly and her significant other with all the musician stuff, huh? Because y'all seem to like the music stuff.
Well, they certainly have a lot of good world experience too. So there's some neat things we can talk about outside of ham radio. So
for certain. But Mike, go ahead with that one last bit before I give it back to Dave here, and we'll go into some of that rerun stuff. But go ahead, Mike.
Cool. Yeah. So Newer Ham Radio Elmer says that is what I'm saying. N3WERA. I'm assuming maybe that's his ham.
His call sign.
It's a potential call,
yeah.
Although it's one letter too long, so I'm not sure what that is.
All
but
right.
That's okay.
And he also and this person also said I was 12 when he got his.
Oh, very
Congrats!
good.
Congrats, Dave. I am 56 soon to be, and
Excellent.
Everybody wants to know. So we might as well give out both of your call signs, because he's saying, "What's Dave's call sign?"
Okay, well, my call is W4CI, and so when they say it phonetically, it's Whiskey 4 Charlie India. Since it's easy to confuse letters when you're just hearing a single letter, they use the International Phonetic Alphabet. So I'm Whiskey 4 Charlie India, and Hirsch is
Kilo Romeo 4 Hotel India, Quebec.
That's KR4HIQ, a cool sounding call, and his is relatively new. Mine is a very old-timey vintage type call. So depending on how long you've been in, a lot of times you can tell by the call letter. So,
hey, Mike, thank you again for what you've done and do for us. And do you have any news or anything that you'd like for our audience to know about you?
Well, that I will be joining the crew, as far as I know, and on a regular basis. So I'll be your secret voice.
And he's no longer on parole, ladies and gentlemen. So that's good too, right?
That very well could be true. That very well could be true.
It's not in my hands. Handy hymns. No, sorry, wrong website. Sorry. No.
Oh,
But it's Mike. It's been again. It's always a pleasure, and working through all the technical stuff with Zoom and learning that you're a Zoom community champion. I just want to make sure people highlight that aspect because, for one, Zoom gets to learn from us. Us meaning people that are users of screen readers, or people that have vision loss, or people that are in a wheelchair, muscular dystrophy. There's so many disabilities, but we just want to say thank you to Zoom for enabling us with these tools that we have. And
it's not just plug and play, though. You still have to
no.
learn some stuff for sure. And so Mike's been a huge help in that.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting some love from Elmer here too. He says, "The voice of America, by the way, nice voice." I'm assuming that might be me, but officially I'm a voice of Canada. But I won't hold it against that comment.
Yeah, I like that. Well, you're still the voice of reason, most importantly. But
we appreciate that.
Incidentally, I consider Canada to be our smarter older brother. That's the way I look at Canada.
So.
I think, a great country.
Yes, indeed. Hey, a lot of good artists and a lot of comedians out of there. I mean, Jim Carrey, Norm Macdonald. I'm just sorry. We're back to the show.
The DeFranco family.
There you are. See, we could get off the track.
Jeff Healy would be my throw in. I'll throw in Jeff Healy.
You said a drummer. Give me some drummer names, please. Yeah, some drummers.
Give me some drummer names. Well, of course,
Neil
our
Peart,
infamous
of course.
Canadian. There would be, that would be, of course, yes. That one, Dave beat me to it.
Who was that? Who was that? I didn't catch it.
Neil Peart or Neil Peart.
Neil Peart.
Depending on how you put that, from the band Rush, yes. And they will be going out on tour, Rush, again. Just
wow,
very interesting. Yes, without Neil, it's been approved by Neil's family that. They've given them the goodness, and there will be a new drummer, and
the
it
great
will be
group.
a team.
Guess who are Canadian?
Yes, they are now back out on tour again. Yes, so Burton Cummings along with Randy Bachman.
I would go to see them.
Excellent, and then of course we've also got, depending on how heavy of rock you get into, Triumph is also going out this year as well, from back in the 80s as well.
Hey Dave, you know what? I want to have a little shout out. We don't do shout outs on the show, but I want to give a shout out to Carrie from BC, Canada. She actually called in yesterday and I know they couldn't hear her properly, but just want to shout out to some of the listeners that do call in on the Blind and Beyond radio show. And perhaps you're in the chat now on the YouTube. So thank you for your contributions and reaching out to the show.
Yeah, Carrie's up in British Columbia, which my wife and I have had the pleasure of going to. That's just a beautiful place, Vancouver. And so we appreciate our Canadian listeners and viewers for sure. And again, all around the world, for that matter.
For the even people out here in our states, if you are interested to be on the show, again, we could try to help you the best as we can. This is why Mike is an asset to me, because he actually has this site, and we actually would love to have you just to figure out the stories. Maybe you don't have much to say, but it might be important. If you want
someone else on the show, that's just as important. You might have a topic that you're interested in. We'll check into it.
Matter of fact, we talked about conferences and these little things like CSUN, which is California State University Northridge. Then you have ACB, American Council of the Blind, NFB, National Federation of the Blind. I'll stop with the alphabet soup, but I met a person in person. I met this person in person at the Florida Council of the Blind group in May. His name is Peter Kuchiari, but you'll probably get to hear a snippet. Dave has it loaded up over there. From yesterday's show, who is also now the director of Spectrum Accessibility. But it's guests like him and Dave Schleppenbach, for example, and others. Amongst others, there's another gentleman that maybe Dave has, and maybe, I don't know, we'll see what Dave has for me. But his name was Ken Brandt, and he was actually from Australia. So, it's not only about America here, we might have guests from all over. But Dave, it's been a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much for being patient with me, and to our guests that couldn't make it today, no big deal. We'll got you on your next run.
Get feeling
Dave?
better, Greg.
Yes, indeed. I'll throw it back to you, Dave. Thank you.
And just one more thing from Elmer before we go there. He says W4CI has like 100,000 lookups on his call sign.
Uh-oh. I've been found out.
Look out.
It's true.
Dave has, and here we go. The true ham compliment I'm saying. Dave has a great hex beam, by the way.
That's one of my antenna. If our
9
Elmer
by 9
friend
by
there,
9 by 9 by 9. Oh wait, 5 by 9. Never mind.
it's a relatively small antenna, but it works quite well for me. So it's a directional antenna. You can point it towards Europe or wherever, and if the band is cooperative, you might actually get somebody which you heard earlier. So it's a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you in the hobby too. So thanks again, Mike, Hirsch, listeners. You guys are great.
And we'll slide into some reruns of what you heard yesterday.
Yeah, or what you didn't hear yesterday, maybe.
That too.
That could
half
be.
poured half.
I might have to find it. It might have to do some looking around for a second. So
Dave,
so
just remember, Dave, remember pour, right? Perception. No, never mind. I won't get it.
Welcome back.
All right.
So we've been talking to a young man from Australia. His name is Ken Brandt. And Ken, you still there?
I am.
Good. So for those people who heard you the first hour of talking about your book, what else can you tell us about this book?
Well, it's roughly half different adventures and roughly half talking about the advantages of poor eyesight. So that's how it's broken out. I think there are, as I mentioned, the good eyesight is definitely better than poor eyesight. I think everybody should do all the stuff they can for their health and their eyes and pay attention to everything their eye doctors say, and exercise and eat right and all of those things. But at a certain point, some people, me included, you've got poor vision, and you've already done everything you can do about it. You might as well enjoy some of the advantages and adventures. So
You have another quick story, a quick one?
Sure. Well, or how about a joke? I'll tell you a joke.
Okay, joke
A
is good.
joke. I'd love to hear a joke.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope I get it.
A guy walks into a restaurant, and he sees a woman sitting alone, but he's by himself, so he's walking past her, and all of a sudden she sneezes. And it turns out she had a glass eye, which he couldn't tell, and a glass eye is flying out.
Oh, my
and
God.
He sort of like in the Matrix, he's slow motion, but somehow quick enough, jumps, does a spectacular catch to catch her eye, gives it to her. She apologizes. She goes, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed, but thank you so much. Can I make it up to you by buying you dinner? Would you like to join me?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, okay." So they sit down, they have dinner. They have a wonderful time. The guy really enjoys it. She's a great conversationalist. They have a lot in common. He really likes her sense of humor. They seem to be hitting it off, all of that. And he gets her phone number, and then he says, "Well, I've had so much fun at this dinner. I appreciate you giving me the phone number, and I'll give you a call. But do you give your phone number out so easily to different guys?" And she goes, No, not at all. Hardly ever. You just happen to catch my eye.
Oh, I got it. That's cute, Ken.
That's very cute. Even my wife got it.
Yeah, I got that one. I'm not good at getting jokes.
So I hope you all got it. It was very cute.
That was great. Ken, I have to
He caught her eye if you didn't get the joke.
Before we say good afternoon, and if people are wondering what I'm talking about, what time is it over there in Australia? Isn't it Monday afternoon now?
Yes, exactly. It's just afternoon on 12:02 on
There you go.
Monday.
It's time for your lunch.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again. Let's not make it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And
it was very fun. Thank you for
both
coming
of you
along.
and to Chris and everybody in the audience.
Thank you,
Thank
Ken.
you. And don't forget to say that you heard it on the Blind Beyond Radio Show. Lynn, you're up.
Okay, all right. Well, it's been a month, and it's time to welcome back Peter Kuchiari at Spectrum Communications, but I'm going to leave out the title because Peter has a special announcement. So welcome back, Peter.
Welcome, Peter. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy
You're
Sunday.
welcome. Happy Sunday to you. So how shall we address you now?
Friend, colleague,
There you
neighbor.
go. Yeah, father of two
That's
little,
right.
two little
Father.
children, husband.
That's right. That's right.
So, but truly, what's your new title?
What's your new title?
Yeah, Director of Accessibility.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
If anybody would like to call in and congratulate Peter, feel free to do so.
I would like to hear somebody that has
Spectrum.
Spectrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. Because our station is out of Worcester, Massachusetts.
WCRN.
WCRN. They're located in Worcester, Massachusetts. Anybody listening in Worcester, Massachusetts, call in. Love to hear how you like. And it better be a good thing, because we don't want to hear anything negative. Only good things, reference to
Yeah, but
good
Peter's very
things.
open-minded. He takes negative things too.
And if you're
Peter?
blind, that'd even be better. If you're sighted, that's excellent. But if you're blind, love to hear if you're blind. If I'm calling from Worcester, Massachusetts, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any of the programs that's on from Spectrum,
Or the remote.
for the remote and everything else, because Peter's going to be talking about it, right, Peter? Going to be talking about it?
I don't know what Peter's talking about tonight. Peter, what are you talking about?
I might surprise you. Who knows?
There you go.
No, absolutely. If you're in Worcester, call in. I know you guys have a great news syndication out that way. So you got the local radio streams carrying Blind and Beyond Radio Show, which is really exciting. And I know for a fact, I've been on the show now for, 6 years.
About 6 years,
on there.
I think so.
And over the course of these years, I know I've talked to a few people on the show alone that are from Worcester that have
Really?
Spectrum, and we've corresponded by email. So I wonder if they're listening tonight. I'd love to hear them. So absolutely, yeah, dial in. Let us know how you're doing.
Who's giving out the number? You or Peter?
Phone number to call in is 407-894-1680. I'll say it nice and slow. 407-894-1680. 407-894-1680. That's the phone number to call in. Love to hear from you.
So what's new, Peter, besides now that you're the Director of Accessibility at Spectrum Communications?
Yeah, I mean, being a director is just a title, right? The commitment, the work is exactly the same, and everything that we're doing in the disability inclusion space, especially, our disability support team, making sure our products are accessible. All these things are still exactly the same. The thing that, I've been thinking about this, we've talked about the disability support team a great deal. We talked about the remotes, the accessible set-top box. We've talked a bit about Zumo and what's happening over there. But the one thing that we haven't discussed in a minute, so if you'll permit me, I'll refresh our audience memory this
Okay, you're
evening.
permitted.
On the Spectrum Access app. We don't talk a great deal about that. And, I think that for some people, it might be a little bit of an intimidating experience because it requires the coordination of a smartphone along with your watching experience at home. And so I want to do my very best to chip away little bit by little bit at that fear that some people have of maybe finding their audio description in the Spectrum Access app and then syncing that with what they're watching on TV at home. So I'd love it, if you've tried Spectrum Access, I'll say this at the forefront here. If you've tried Spectrum Access and you've been discouraged, or maybe you've taken a look at it, or maybe you've heard about it but haven't tried it, I'd love for you to call in, and I'll also give a dedicated email address that you can email me to ask me questions about the app and how it works. So if you have fear around the way that it operates, or maybe you have a group in your area of people that you work with, like a low vision support group or something like that, give me a call or send me an email, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. But this evening, the thing that I want to do is just remind people how it works. And, it's simpler than it sounds, but I'll walk through the steps really quickly. So the Spectrum Access app is a free, by the way, that's really important to say. They say in the world of marketing that free sells really well. And I love selling free things because I don't have to ask for your money, but only your participation. And so the Spectrum Access app is absolutely free to everyone in the US, regardless of whether or not you're a Spectrum customer or live in a Spectrum territory. It's available to you. And there are maybe 13 or 1,400 titles that are on there currently that have audio description available. All you have to do is maybe plan your night in advance. So if you're going to be watching a movie or show and you're worried that it doesn't have audio description, you can check whether or not the Spectrum Access app carries that title. And if it does, that means that we've worked with a studio that's given us that title for us to publish in the app. So you just download the audio description track and you have it available to you when you're going to be watching that movie on your TV or whatever other device. It does have to be a separate device from your phone. So when you're watching that TV, let's say it's on your set-top box. Maybe you've gone through your on-demand library. Maybe it's on a different platform. You've pulled it up and you've hit play. Now you go back to your app where you downloaded that audio description track. You just go back to that track and hit sync and play. And what it's going to do is it's going to use the microphone of your device, most likely your phone or your tablet where you're running the app. It's going to use the microphone of that device to capture the audio of the movie that you're watching, identify where you are in that movie. So let's say you're 1 minute, 48 seconds in. It'll identify that and it'll pinpoint the audio description track to that exact point and start playing it on your phone. So for me personally, I like to put an earbud in my ear so that I can hear the audio description. Nobody else in my house is blind, so they don't have to hear it, although they've grown quite fond of audio description around here. But I can put that audio earbud in my ear and be the only one that hears it. It's synchronized with the audio, and now I have accessibility right in my pocket. It's just as easy as that.
Yeah. Yeah. Peter, we have a caller that wants to congratulate you. Would you mind taking
please.
the call?
Yeah, sure. Please.
Okay. It looks like we have Sheila calling in from Orlando. Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
Peter. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I just saw your email too, so I really appreciate it. Double congratulations from Sheila.
Well, I just had to call and say congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Sheila.
You're such a wonderful, wonderful friend and partner down there in Florida. So I appreciate the years of partnership that you've given us as well. So
I'll see you in May.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'll be on virtually this year, Sheila.
Oh, no.
I'm so sad I'll be on virtually this year because on May 15th, well, it's a good reason, and I'm really honored and proud. I had somebody on my team that nominated me for the Leader to Watch award from the WICT Rocky Mountain organization, and so they chosen me for the award, and I have to be there to receive it.
Congratulations again. Oh, how exciting. Well, we will talk to you virtually then.
I'll
Thanks
look
for
forward to
calling,
being there.
Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila.
All right. Bye.
Here.
Boy,
Yes.
What I missed, what was the organization that nominated you?
It's called WICT. It's an industry organization. It has really its roots in empowering and developing women in the world of communication technology. Used to be cable industry, but these days it's more known as telecom or communication technology. And so there are various chapters around the country of WICT, and one is here in Denver. So I was really
Every time
Very nice.
Every
Very
time
nice.
I
Beautiful.
turn around, Peter's getting an award.
I mean, he deserves it. He deserves all the travel he does. Wow.
And where were you? I just saw on LinkedIn the other day you were at a fancy gala. I forget what it was for.
Oh yeah, the Emphasis Foundation Gala.
What is
They're a
that?
great organization. I serve on their accessibility advisory committee. They're a foundation, a subsidiary of Infosys as a talent agency. They do a lot of employment around technology, IT, engineers, developers, that line of work. And so Infosys Foundation has really been set up to partner with nonprofits and develop experiences that really create inclusion around technology and jobs around technology, education in the space of technology. So that was a really fun event. I got to see a lot of really bright young minds that are going to be running our AI world.
There you go.
Peter, you travel a lot, right? You travel a whole lot.
He does.
I do travel a good bit.
Right.
Yeah.
I got a question to ask. We had a whole subject matter we talked before, and when you after you leave, I really don't want you to leave because I'd like you to discuss it with us about restaurants. You ever have problems when you go out to eat as a blind person? You go out to eat, have a problem with the people, the chefs, the servers, the waitresses, the waiters, being blind?
Every once in a while, there's a little bit of a disconnect between what's the optimum experience for me and what the wait staff is used to doing. And so, sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect there, but nothing that I've ever haven't been able to reverse with a short bit of education.
You're fortunate. So, Peter, before we say goodnight, we have a couple of minutes yet, but why don't you tell everybody how to access the accessibility department if they have a problem, an issue, question?
Well, I wanted to give out the email address, and by the way, you mentioned the awards and stuff that have been going on. So I'm fortunate to have gotten some personally, but the awesome thing is that we've gotten a lot as a team. The Forbes 100 award last year, the Helen Keller Achievement Award, some of these. So those are probably the most exciting to me because they really are a representation of all the work that we've done. But the email address that I wanted to share is spectrumaccess@charter.com. So it's fairly simple, spectrumaccess@charter.com. That's where you can email me about the app. And then if you want to call the disability support team, that's our customer service line. That's 1-844-762-1301.
Okay. So is the snow gone in your neck of the woods?
It's been warm, unusually warm here. I mean, T-shirt out in the park yesterday, warm. Yeah.
The opposite of the Northeast.
It's the opposite of the Northeast and a little bit odd. The weather's doing weird things to us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Peter.
Well, I hope you guys are staying warm down there, and thank you.
It warmed up again a little bit. It was freezing down here
Good, yeah.
a couple of weeks ago.
Well, thank you again, and have a good night.
Well.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for everything. Be safe and be well.
Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little bit of rerun, and that's a kind of cool guest that you get to see on the Blind and Beyond radio show.
That was interesting, I think. I didn't get to catch it the first time around, so this was kind of a first time for me. So definitely always like hearing Peter and
Dave. Is it me or you? Okay, not it. You go get Peter. I'm kidding. We got to get Peter on board, and he has some fascinating stories. He shared a little bit there, but
and on YouTube we can take it out a little bit longer. So that part is good. So anyway, we appreciate everybody being here, and it's been a lot of fun tonight. The time has gone by quick, but so 3 hours is probably a good time to.
You know what, Dave? They should let us know what they like. I think that's the better deal is. So what we do in the third hour, since our friends sometimes do not have the second hour available to them from the Blind and Beyond radio show, because you might wonder, like, why are they playing the radio show? Like, what's the point? The third hour is typically for a segment, so that if you miss the second hour, we try to take away all the little ads and little tidbits, and we'll try to trim it up make it tight as possible.
Because some radio stations don't have the second hour. That's the thing. And so this is a way to you can catch up this way.
And if not, I mean, of course, you could always go to the Blind and Beyond Radio Show.org website. And of course, there's a donate page there. We try our best. Archives, all sorts of things. And for us here, for our archives, simple. go to Blind and Beyond Radio.
And there they are.
Blind and Beyond show, Dave.
All of
Show.
our archives from Blind and Beyond show. Well, you get the first two anyway, and we appreciate
and
you guys being on the ground floor as we get started here and really starting to, get our feet wet with YouTube. You're right there with us, and
I've made a
we
playlist,
thank you
so
for
there's
that.
going to be a playlist in there for you to catch up. Again, give us some feedback because, again, we can only know how to be better if we have feedback. So
if you got a topic, something you're interested in, and or something you definitely don't want to see, let us know that too. We're open.
Dave. You know I like my reggae music. You think you could hit off a little reggae music, little something?
man,
Come on, man.
Let's see.
I work so hard on this. But ladies and gentlemen, seriously, Dave is an amazing musician, and maybe we get a little background music while we talk.
Yeah, got
little
that,
something.
That mood. I'm trying to conjure a mood.
I'm thinking reggae, but Mr. Mike, you got any moods for genres that you think you want to listen to?
Oh, this ain't request hour now.
Oh man.
Oh, I was gonna request the blues and what E minor? Should I do E minor?
There you go.
You just said blues, and I think you just called Dave's favorite genre.
I could do that. I am a blues guy, so we'll be hearing some of that for sure. But we appreciate everyone putting up with our craziness, and that makes it so much more fun, and it's even better when you join in. So.
And again, don't forget Zoom Test Kitchen on Fridays. You'll find Mike and him doing what he does with a lot of this technology. He really dives pretty deep into it. So, we thank you, Mike, for what you do with your skills and being that content delivery guy for years and years that I've had stories with you. So, thank you. And, with that, if there are any tutorials you want us to go over in specific, because again, we mentioned JAWS. I don't know if that's the same JAWS, Job Access with Speech, which is a screen reader.
Well,
there's NVDA, which is non-visual desktop access. Yes, you could say it's the one with the shark, but I would say remember the one with the letter J. That's JAWS.
Yeah,
the one with the letter Z or Z for our friends is Zoom Text. And then if you have the one with the letter F, that's Fusion. So those are few tools that we use on the Windows side. And then VoiceOver is something that Dave uses on his iPhone.
It's
and
true.
Then I use TalkBack on my Android phone. So again, we bring different specialties and likes and dislikes, but that's what makes us us. It's the Blind and Beyond show. So thank you again for a wonderful evening and staying in tuned, out of tuned, or I think Dave, you're in tune. Yeah, are you in pitch?
Close, I think so. And since you've been such a good audience, when you clear off with us, I should think you should get yourself a nice big old bowl of ice cream or something good to
What
eat.
kind? What kind?
I'm thinking chocolate with some kind of, I don't know, sprinkles or something. Something good anyway.
Maybe diabetic friendly for some of our friends that
It
need
can be
that, or-
diabetic friendly. You can even give a little nibble to the doggy.
You know what I like actually? If you mix avocado and you throw it in some milk. Yeah, I know it sounds strange, but avocado and then you mix it in with some ice cream and then you put a little bit of oh boy, the stuff that you have during Christmas. What do you call that?
Sorrel?
Eggnog.
Eggnog.
Rum?
Yeah, the eggnog stuff.
Oh no.
That little, the little crunch. Really, really good and healthy for you. Just saying.
Hershey, you are out there, my friend.
I'm out there. But I am from another. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're beyond.
Beyond.
Man.
That's all I can say.
And thank you, Mike. Thank you, this microphone. Thank you.
Yes, you can tell us your favorite food next time. Sure. Listener, we'll be anxious to hear what combinations you like. Avocado and ice cream. I don't know.
And tell you what, if you're interested in helping us, hey, how can I be helping them up there or reach out. Maybe we'll find you a spot to learn from our adventures, because I have a channel too. It's the Who Cares A11Y Bar channel, but that's why I stuck to this.
Hershey Bar.
The Hershey Bar, yeah. Well, at WCABAR is my channel. Dave has his music channel. So we have our own channels, but we want to serve you, our audience, the Blind and Beyond show audience. So we figured, why not? We'll do this together.
This is where we blend.
This is where we just slide through, ride the waves, hang 10. Maybe
This
drive
is
around the
where we
racetrack.
bring in our buddy Mike.
Mike.
Yep.
Mike,
What?
buddy. Cheers to Canada.
Excellent.
Cheers, my friend. Cheers.
We're putting this one in the can, boys. What do you think?
I think you're right. In the can it goes. Bye all. See you next week.
Remember, Blind and Beyond Show. Search that, share it with your friends. If you are interested, put your comments down below and I'm reading them and we'll put it together and answer you back next week. If not, Blind and Beyond Show at gmail.com is another way you could reach out to us by email.
And remember,
thank you so much.
Blindness is just one part of you, a small part.
Just a little
See you next
spectrum.
time.